Welcome to the Sherdog Radio Network preview for UFC 321 Aspinall vs. Gane. I'm your host, Ben Duffy of Sherdog.com, and with me, as usual, is Keith Schillen, the executive producer of the Sherdog Radio Network. Keith, how you doing this evening?
I'm doing good, man. We got a big pay-per-view card. I always feel more excited when we have pay-per-view cards. I know that's like corny and like, oh, this is supposed to be the hardcore show. You should be super excited every week. Yeah, but you know what? There's something like there is some truth when they say a title fight, a UFC title fight. It just bigger. I get sold on the embeddeds and the press conferences and the weigh-in shows and all that. So, yeah, I'm excited. It's always exciting when it's the pay-per-view week. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well. I feel the same way you do about it. Obviously, we preview every single UFC card, the slimmest fight night as well as the biggest pay-per-views. And right now, we are in the midst of a 5 or 6 week stretch where the UFC is hitting 4 different continents, 5 different countries in 5 weeks. It's just about pulling up to its end. Then they're going to be back at the Apex for a couple weeks before they finish out the year. And yeah, the cards have kind of risen and fallen like the tide. But this one, UFC 321, on paper, I'm going to say this one is pretty damn solid. There are a couple of things about this one, and I'm not going to make any case that this is the best pay-per-view card of the year, but it has 2 title fights, both of which I'm very excited for, and there's not a whole lot of filler. Like, if you told me a couple months out that, oh, UFC 321 is going to have 14 fights and 4 of them are going to be heavyweight fights, I'd be like, oh man, buckle up. But only one of the heavyweight fights looks like a probable shit carnival in the making. The other 3 are actually really good fights.
I can only imagine which fight you're talking about, Ben.
I don't want to jump into the actual preview of the fights, but if Abdelwahab versus Barnett goes past 2 minutes, boy, God help us.
And it's going to. It's going to. Yeah, I think it's a good card. I'm gonna give like a B-. Like it's definitely what I'm missing from the pay-per-view is the talk. Like nobody's gonna talk. The personalities are gonna be kind of weak this week. You know, it's really when you talk about the top 4 people fighting on the card, Aspinall's got some personality. The rest of them, and he's not like this over the top brash, you know. But yeah, he got some shine with the John Jones and everything. But there's gonna be more talk about him fighting John Jones. Questions about John Jones than Surreal Gane this week. Gane is not gonna say anything. Mackenzie Dern with her fake accent's not gonna say anything. Obviously, Denderoba doesn't even speak English. There's not one person that's gonna like really excite or like when they're sitting, say they do. I don't know what the plan is for the press conference, but they have the entire, say the main card. Who's gonna get a big pop? Who's gonna get the crowd? I mean, Umar, and he lost some buzz after losing to Merab.
It's going to be a quiet table with Umar and Mario Bautista sitting opposite each other, Volkov and Almeida sitting opposite each other, Jandiroba versus Dern, who've already fought once. Yeah. No, you're right. Like the one thing it's missing in terms of the main card is a sizzling character or two, because this probably will be one of the driest pay-per-views in terms of the promotional buildup. But if we're talking about divisional relevance, and these are things that if you are familiar with our show, I mention pretty much every time during the intro, things like this is how many fighters on this card are below 500 in the UFC. This is how long the cut list is probably going to be. How many fighters are close to a title shot? In terms, like the number of fighters who fight for a title in their next fight after this card might be higher than the number of people on the cut list. That is insane. Like, if I tell you that the Nurmagomedov Bautista winner and Azamat Murzakanov, if he wins, are both fighting for titles in their next fight, you might not agree, but you're not going to say I'm crazy.
I don't think they're the first call on the, picking up the telephone, making a call, but you're not far down the list. If like Murzakanov would feel like a clear Roundtree type title fight, where it was like not absurd that he was getting a title fight, but more like, oh, okay, like I'm surprised. Turn. Yeah, like I guess it's his turn. Obviously, I think Volkov versus Almeida is probably number 1 contender matchup. Obviously, and the thing you said about there's not a lot of filler. there's maybe 1 or 2 fights I'm like, yeah, all right, but there's some action fights. Yeah, like I said, I'm giving it a solid like a B minus. Like I'm happy with it.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a solid B. And the one kind of indicator I gave that there's 4 heavyweight fights on this one, and that doesn't ruin the card. The other thing I'll say is no fights really fell off this card, and there was only 1 last minute addition. And when there's a last minute addition to a UFC pay-per-view card, it's usually a terrible fight that they just needed to meet some contractual obligations.
Sure.
They added Nasrat Haqparast versus Quillan Salkilled. They're adding 2 guys that are on, I think, 5 and 3 fight winning streaks in the UFC. And they haven't said yet, but it's probably going to slot in as like the top prelim.
Yeah.
It's not just some appendix they're putting on the bottom.
Yeah. A lot of times when they're adding one, they're like, oh, we need to get a local guy on the card. They throw, they're in Detroit. They throw some local Detroit guy on the card to get some, journeyman. That's not the case. Yeah. I think it's a good card. I think we have a lot of action. And you know what? I always like an earlier start time. The recap show is going to be so much more fun. I don't know what time the recap will technically be, but we're talking probably
mid-afternoon,
6.
Early evening.
Yeah, like it's
like an hour earlier for me. So I'm thinking like 4 or 5 p.m. Yeah, not bad at all.
Yeah.
Okay, because the whole main card is pretty damn solid. I won't even say aside from the top 2 fights. I'll say which undercard fight are you most excited for? Or if you can't name that, which individual fighter?
Yeah. So there's 2 fights that are really standing out to me. I mean, Rebecki and Klein will be an action fight. So that's, stakes still not so high, but that's something I'm looking into. Wood and Delgado is a fight I'm very intrigued by. But if I had to pick only one fight, I couldn't give it to my man Park and Aliskerov. Park just keeps winning. Aliskerov, I really think he has the tools to be, the Rob Whittaker fight took a lot of shine off, but I think he has the tools to be, a top one of the top guys in the division. That's the fight I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, those 2 are obvious standouts to me. And we're already back to another Valter Walker fight. Obviously, he's going to look to continue to extend the weirdest streak of the last decade in the UFC. And for what it's worth, he's fighting a guy in Louie Sutherland that I am mildly interested to see in the UFC. He's not coming in with an insane amount of hype because, he's not undefeated. He's not built like Gon or Aspinall. But at worst, he kind of looks and fights like Mick Parkin, and he could slide in as a guy that has already proven he belongs, is on the young side, and is probably going to visit the top 10 sometime in the next little bit. So I'm excited for that fight. I'm excited for Sutherland to be in the UFC. Any other general thoughts on this one before we start up on the prelims?
No, we got a lot of fights. Let's do them.
All right. First up at UFC 321 is a strawweight matchup between Jaqueline Amorim and Mizuki Inoue. Amorim, the 30-year-old Brazilian, is 10-1 overall. She's 4-1 since joining the UFC as the outgoing LFA strawweight champ. She dropped her UFC debut to Sam Hughes about 2.5 years ago. Since then, she has rattled off 4 straight wins, including her only other cage appearance of this year. It was back in April, where she choked out Poliana Viana in the 2nd round. So looking to make it 5 straight and kind of definitely enter the top 10 and probably enter the outer fringes of the title picture if she can get past Inoue. 31-year-old from Japan, who goes just by the single name, wants us to call her Mizuki. 15-6 overall. 2-1 since joining the UFC as the former Invicta strawweight champ. She's coming in off a win. That's the good news. The bad news is that it was a little over 2 years ago. How long ago was it? It was over Hannah Goldie. She took a unanimous decision over Goldie at UFC Fight Night Fiziev versus Gamrot back in September of 2023.
She did beat a fan favorite, so.
She did beat a fan favorite. Sad day for Alex Nicholson, I'm sure, but she's back in the cage. 2 years.
Hannah Goldie gets like MMA news, my MMA news, like half their content. So
yeah. Perhaps unsurprisingly, Amorim is a massive favorite here. She is minus 450, Inoue plus 325 as the underdog. One thing I should have said about this card during the intro, I'll throw it out there now. Amorim is minus 450. She's not the biggest favorite on this card. I don't even think she's the 2nd biggest favorite on this card. There are some very wide lines on this one. And we'll talk about each fight individually as they come up, obviously, but generally speaking, in most of the cases, the lines, you understand why they are what they are. And here, it absolutely makes sense that the lines are what they are, because Amorim is a more active fighter. She's a bigger fighter. She's a more skilled fighter. And while Mizuki has been a lot of fun, she has such a weird and limited skill set that even at her best, she always had to kind of thread the needle to get wins. The thing about Inoue is she has herself announced as a karate fighter. She stands like a karate fighter, but kind of like a tiny, tiny version of Norma Dumont. There are two issues. One, she's easy to take down. And two, if you hit her, she tries to take you down. Like all the karate goes out the window as soon as you like touch her face, and then she just wants to grapple. She's a good grappler, but she's tiny. She's not very physically strong, and she's just susceptible to getting bullied and pushed around. And that actually goes all the way back to being an atom weight in Japan. Like, she had early losses to people like Ayaka Hamasaki, which there's no shame in that. Hamasaki was a pound for pound talent at the time, but Hamasaki is tiny and just kind of ragdolled in a way. As recently as 5 or 6 years ago, when she lost her title fight in Invicta, Virna Jandiroba, whom we'll be talking about in 2 hours or so, just completely steamrolled her on the ground. They took her down every single round, busted her face up, did everything but get the submission.
Yeah, because she's been doing that to a whole bunch of people too.
It's aged well, but it's something that other people have been able to replicate. You look at all of Inoue's career losses. It's not usually her getting busted up on the feet. It's her kind of doing the thing on the feet, and then one person initiates the takedown, and if Inoue can't find a submission off the bottom, she's toast. Against Amorim, that's going to be a problem, because Amorim probably isn't quite as technical or composed a striker as Inoue, but she has better power, and she's a good grappler who's physically strong and knows what side her bread is buttered on. She's going to take Inoue down, and she's going to smash her. In thinking about this fight, I've been operating on the assumption that Inoue, who is still just, I think, 31, is going to be basically the same fighter we saw fight Hannah Goldie 2.5 years ago. And if she does, I think Amorim probably pulverizes her in the first round. Inoue survives the first round, because one thing I will say about her is she is tough to a fault. Like, she survived 3 rounds with Amanda Lemos just throwing her all over the place. She survived 5 rounds with Virna Jandiroba just pounding her into dust. She's going to survive the first round. Might even be some 10-8 material. Her face all going to be all busted up. And I think Amorim takes her down again in the second, slaps her around a little bit, and probably gets the tap out, because Amorim's thing tends to be beat on the person until they, give up their back, and then choke them out or armbar them. So give me Amorim by second round submission. And yeah, I think this is going to be pretty elementary once it starts.
Yeah, I mean, Amorim, she's looked really good recently. A lot of things you like. She's a very good athlete. She's not the best striker. She really needs to improve just her striking technique, but she does have some power. She her whole game is to use her striking to close the distance. She'll throw kicks because she doesn't really care if you catch her kick. She wants to create a scramble anyways. She has terrible takedown defense. You can easily take her down. She does leave herself to get tagged because she doesn't set up a lot of her strikes or a lot of her entries. But she's a pretty good wrestler. She likes body lock takedowns. She also shoot good entries from distance. Sometimes she doesn't set them up, but if she gets to the hip, she's very good at cutting the corner. She understands that. She'll pull guard to get the fight to the ground, which I'm not a fan of that, but she's a really good grappler. I mean, she's a BJJ black belt. She has tons of high-level competition experience. If she's on top, she moves to better positions super fast. She's a huge submission threat. She has 8 subs on her record, a bunch of subs already in the UFC. She chains subs together well. If you put her on her back, she can get submissions off her back, really get positions in scrambles, all positions. She hit Vanessa Demopoulos with one of the slickest arm bars you'll see. Even, if she grabbed the inside of the glove as Demopoulos was claiming and everything. In a way, if she isn't a good athlete, that's something it's concerning. She is undersized. but being on the side, you have to be fast. And she isn't. She struggled with the speed of Amanda Lemos, which is concerning if you're the smaller fighter. She tries to make up with her lack of size and lack of athleticism with pressure. And I love that. She can be very aggressive on the feet, high volume on the feet. Like you said, she'll get into a brawl. That's what she likes. She just likes to force her opponents onto their back foot, use a lot of feints, has a very bob and weave style. She likes to get in the pocket and really brawl it out. She will load up a lot, bunch of hooks. I do like that she targets the body. She's willing to eat a lot of shots to land some of her own. To her credit, she has a pretty good chin. She'll take some shots. She will close the distance and work in the clinch, but again, she's not the biggest fighter, so that's not like she can't she's not Jasmine Jasovicius where she's just out muscle people in the clinch. But I like a dirty boxing, her knees and elbows inside. She will drop down in the hips, but trying to pull the leg up. A lot of her takedowns though could come from the upper body. She isn't a great wrestler, though she will try to wrestle against the fight the ground. And she's a weaker defensive wrestler. If she gets on top, she is a submission threat. And she can get subs off her back too. I doubt that happens here. Now, I do think the fight should be closer on the betting lines. When you get, and would you say this was -4 something?
450, yeah.
Okay, I put in our private chat, just guessing who the biggest favorite is. I don't want you to spoil the surprise of the favorite, but how about this? Am I right about this one? Is that the biggest favorite, the one I put in the chat?
No.
Okay, all right. I don't want to keep guessing, but all right, I'll tell. I said the main event. I think Inoue, if the fight's staying on the feet, I think Inoue is probably better on the feet. She's a good overall grappler herself, but Amorim is close to a lead on the ground. I don't know if she looks for takedowns or Inoue just out of instinct goes for one of her own takedowns, but I think that'd be a mistake. I think she catches Inoue in a submission. I'm going to say she does in the very first round. Give me Amorim by first round submission.
Next up on the UFC 321 prelims is a men's flyweight matchup between Azat Maksum and Mitch Raposo. Maksum, the 30-year-old from Kazakhstan, is 15-2 overall. He's 1-2 in the UFC, and he is on a 2-fight losing streak, comprising the only losses of his entire career. He made a successful UFC debut 2 summers ago against Tyson Nam. Since then, he has back-to-back losses to Charles Johnson and Tagir Ulanbekov. The most recent of those, the Ulanbekov fight, was back in June at UFC on ABC Hill versus Roundtree. So Maksum, looking to bounce back from the first losses of his career. In order to do so, he will need to get past Raposo, who is still looking for his first win in the octagon. 27-year-old from Fall River, 9-3 overall. 0-2 since joining the UFC as a veteran of Season 5 of Dana White's Contender Series. He lost on the Contender Series as well, all the way back in 2021, went back to New England, won 4 straight fights, got the call-up last summer. Since then, he has a pair of decision losses to Andre Lima and Sumudarji. The most recent of those, the Sumudarji fight, was back in April at UFC 314. So 2 gentlemen looking to snap the first losing streaks of their careers. Maksum is the one heavily favored to get it, perhaps unsurprisingly. He's -350, Raposo plus 275. Now, Keith, if I told you there's a guy from New England who lost on the Contender Series and is 0-2 in the UFC, you would be picturing a much worse fighter than Mitch Raposo.
Yeah,
I feel like
I agree.
Like Raposo lost on the Contender Series to Jake Hadley. While Jake Hadley has not turned out to be quite the super prospect we hoped, there's still no shame in that loss. And then he's had split decision losses to 2 pretty good guys in the UFC. Raposo, considering what kind of a desert New England has been for prospects in the 5 years we've been doing this show together.
Yeah,
he might be the
the last prospect was Tim Sylvia.
Oh, you mean Iowa zone? Yeah.
Yeah, I was. Tim Sylvia is about as Iowan as friggin' Brendan Allen is Canadian.
And as soon as Timmy opened his mouth, dude, you're not even from regular New England. You're from.
But he's still more Iowan than Mackenzie Dern is Brazilian. So
yeah. I think they basically have the same accent at this point. Tell me who you think gets it done here? I mean, we're talking about a fight with a minus 350 favorite, but tell me how you think it plays out. And considering that, again, these are two guys on 2-fight losing streaks that aren't as bad as they look.
Yeah.
Maksum, when you lose to Charles Johnson and they're like, here's your bounce back fight against Tagir Ulanbekov, they're doing you dirty. Like,
yeah, no shit. And it's funny because he comes from an area where he has connections, with so many, Sean Shelby and Mick. Hold on, why am I messing up his name? Maynard there. They like New England fighters. Why? I don't know, but they love adding New England fighters to the Contender Series. I agree. Like I have a little connection with Mitch Raposo. I don't really know him personally, but I know people who train with him and people I respect, and they speak the world of this kid, but besides his fighting ability, but just his character and everything. And guys at my regular job that have trained with him. And he's from Fall River, which is a city in Massachusetts that I have visited a lot. I have lived in, before I got married, I lived in Fall River for about a year. Like a really small, I was sleeping on an air mattress. Like it was some rough times, but Fall River. Do you know what Fall River is most famous for?
I can't wait for you to say it. I mean, I have some thoughts.
Okay. I take a guess.
It's a super big Portuguese colony, isn't it?
That's true. Yeah. The longest bridge in the world is the Braga Bridge. It connects America to Portugal. But yeah.
Like Raposo has a better excuse to have an accent than Mackenzie Dern does.
Oh, absolutely. And I grew up in a Portuguese era. I mean, I don't look like it, but my mom's 50% Portuguese. So I grew up in East Providence, and that's another very Portuguese area. But Fall River is most famous for being the home of Lizzie Borden. Are you familiar with Lizzie Borden?
Chop, 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 chop.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. We're old enough. We get that reference. Well, we're not that old.
Yeah.
But
I was in the 1840s.
Yeah.
Fuck off, dude. I'm not that old.
Yeah. If people don't know who Lizzie, we're boomers. We're not that bad. But Lizzie, if you don't know Lizzie Borden, look at that. That's Fall River's own Lizzie Borden. I've driven by her house, and I'm not crazy enough to stay in it like some of those people did. Did you actually, I don't know if you know this, but you can like rent a room in the house and sleep there. It's kind of creepy. Like
hell no.
You could sleep in the room where she chopped up her mom if you want. You can sit on the couch with it still has the blood stain with her dad. Her dad's blood is still on the couch anyways. Actually, I don't know if you can sit on the couch, but it's there. Anyways, Raposo, he's a good athlete. He uses a lot of movement. The problem is he'll move a lot, but sometimes he won't throw punches a lot. We saw that he was very gun shy against Andre Lima. He will switch stances a lot. He's constantly like moving and changing angles, using a lot of feints to set up his shots. His last fight, he struggles with the range of Su Mudaerji. Mudaerji is a really tall guy. He struggled to get inside. I like his hands. He's got fast hands. He's got good tight boxing, accurate, nice jab. When he lets his hands go, I like his combos. Mixes up the body, up high, up low, down low. Yes, I'd say he has plus power. And he's kind of like coming into his power year, so hopefully he'll start getting some knockouts. He fights behind your traditional high guard defense. He loves slipping and ripping, so he's like a slip and rip counter striker. He's good at slipping and then countering with an overhand right. I like that he targets the body. He has such a boxing heavy style. He's open to leg kicks. He gets kicked in the legs a lot. He isn't a bad wrestler. He abandoned his wrestling against Andre Lima, and that was a close fight. He might have been able to win that fight if he wrestled a little bit, but he has some good entries. If he gets the fight to the ground, he does need to improve his top control. It's not like the top of his game, but he's hard to take down. He has solid takedown defense. He has 3 submissions on his record, and he's got good cardio. He's not going to slow down. Though his last 2 fights, he really never got out of first gear, so that's probably why. Maksum, despite losing to Tagir Ulanbekov, I thought he looked good. He switches stances a lot. He also uses a lot of movement, good footwork. He sets up his shots well with feints, fast hands, some nice snap on his shots. He's got a nice jab. He follows with straight shots down the pike. I also say he has plus power, though sometimes he will overthrow his shots. He wants to work from space. He hated the pressure from Tyson Nam in their fight. He also doesn't check leg kicks, so whoever's kicking between these two can have a lot of fun. He's a very good wrestler, though. Some fast entries, though he will shoot without a setup sometimes. He showed incredible takedown defense against Ulanbekov, and he also has 5 subs on his record. So as far as prediction goes, anybody who's been watching this show or listening to this show for a long time knows I'm not very high New England-born fighters, even though I'm from here. I try to adopt, Glover Teixeira and all the Brazilians in Connecticut and count those as New England. Raposo is one I like. He's one that I think is a UFC level fighter. He's in the wrong weight class, unfortunately, where it is just that entire weight class is always going to be a tough fight. He just can't get it done in the UFC. And I think they always give him tough matchups. I think this is the same. I expect this to be a bad match for him. I think it could be pretty even on the feet, but Maksum's takedowns, I think, will give him the edge. Give me Maksum to take. I think he might struggle at times to get Raposo down because I think Raposo's a pretty solid defensive wrestler, but eventually Maksum will get him down. I think those will win close rounds for him. Give me Maksum by decision.
I think you and I see this one pretty much the same because looking at their respective UFC fights so far, you can see them both struggle with things that the guy they're about to fight does well. Like you mentioned what a hard time Raposo had with Sumudarji just being so tall and having such range and being a guy that likes to be an outfighter. That's something that Maksum could certainly do to him. At the same time, you mentioned Maksum didn't like it when Tyson Nam put him on the back foot. Even though he won that fight, Nam made it razor close and just made Maksum look clearly uncomfortable for a guy who was still an undefeated fighter at the time. Raposo is likely to be able to do that to Maksum. Even more so if Raposo is the one that kind of gets off starting to kick his legs first. But the difference in the wrestling and Maksum just being bigger and at least as good an athlete is probably going to make the difference here. I see it like you do. A fight that even if Maksum ends up winning like 30-27 is going to feel more competitive than the final score might indicate. And especially early on, I could see Raposo winning the first round, like looking like he's winning the fight and just Maksum getting it dialed in better and kind of winning going away. So it's unanimous here, Maksum by decision, and just the run of rough matchups and bad luck for Mitch Raposo will continue. Next up on the UFC 321 undercard, the first of 4 scheduled heavyweight fights on the night. And if you listen to the intro, when I said that only one of the 4 promises to be a likely shit carnival, this is the one. It's Hamdy Abdelwahab versus Chris Barnett. Abdelwahab, the 32-year-old Egyptian by way of New York, 6-1 with 1 no contest overall. 1-1 with 1 no contest in the UFC. He fought most recently back in June at the same UFC on ABC Hill versus Roundtree card that several other fighters on this card did. He came up short in a unanimous decision against Muhammad Usman in that fight. So looking to bounce back from the first loss of his professional career, he gets the man they call Huggy Bear or Beast Boy, one of the few fighters that we allow to have 2 nicknames in the Fight Finder. Chris Barnett, 39-year-old Floridian, 23-9 overall, 2-3 in the UFC. He has alternated losses and wins since joining the promotion about 4 years ago. He's coming in off a loss. He fought almost exactly a year ago at UFC 308, where he hurt his knee jumping around in the cage before the fight started and got pounded out by Kennedy Zechikwu in the first round.
I love it.
It's
not that he got hurt, but just who he is. And
it's yeah. Let's get through the preliminary so we can talk about this fight. Odds, perhaps unsurprisingly, Abdelwahab is a massive favorite, minus 400. Barnett plus 300 coming back. Hamdy Abdelwahab should destroy Chris Barnett, but having said that, it was very surprising that Barnett made it to the UFC at all, and everybody in the UFC should destroy him. He's a 5'8" guy that has missed weight at heavyweight. He might be the best terrible fighter in the sport. That might be the best way to put it. He is a 5'8", 5'9" guy who, I mean, clearly walks around at like 280 pounds because he weighed in at like 270 for a UFC fight. Despite that, he wheel kicks people. He really does. He looks like a motion capture actor doing Kung Fu Panda. is what he looks like. Just a 5'9" heavyweight who throws wheel kicks, throws flying everything. He does have crushing power. You look at his regional highlight reel, and he's not just throwing these crazy techniques for show. He is icing journeyman heavyweights with them. When he throws just a conventional heavyweight overhand, he has huge power on it. I would have said 6 or 7 years ago when he was stringing together the win streak that got him into the UFC that to put it bluntly, a short, fat guy, he actually had pretty good cardio. He could fight like a maniac for 3 rounds if he needed to. That is not carried over to the UFC. Durability is an issue. He starts to look tired and fight tired pretty quickly. And he's just at such a ridiculous size and reach disadvantage against most heavyweights that it really does. It really does tell on him. The story of his UFC run, aside from alternating losses and wins, is kind of straightforward. He's beaten 2 of the lowest level heavyweights of his era in the UFC, and the 3 guys who were decent beat him pretty uncontroversially. That's the easiest way to put it. That would make this the easiest fight on the card to call, except that Hamdy Abdelwahab has huge question marks all over him as well. You know what he's bringing. He is a former national team wrestler for Egypt. He has international competitive experience. He is short.
I think he was in the Olympics.
I didn't want to say, I know he didn't medal. He represented Egypt in the Olympics. Yeah. So we're talking about an Olympic wrestler from a country that has good wrestling. He's not. Yeah, Keith's kind of shaking his head, but I'm just saying it's not like he.
Yeah, it's not Canada.
It's not like you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Abdelwahab is a stocky heavyweight. He gives up height and reach to a lot of UFC heavyweights. Not in this case, obviously. He is a very good wrestler. He's incredibly physically strong. He does have good power in his strikes, though his technique is terrible. The big question mark about him, of course, is he made his debut in the UFC, got a pretty one-sided decision over Don'Tale Mayes, even if he looked pretty ragged late. And then that got overturned when he failed his post-fight drug test, but failed it hard. He got 2 years on the shelf for it. It was so bad. Since he's been back, it's an open question. He came back this year. He got a win over Jamal Pogues, who's not one of the better heavyweights in the UFC. And then running into Muhammad Usman, a guy that wanted kind of a similar fight to him. He lost to a guy that's smaller than him. Abdelwahab had 20 pounds on him, and Usman just stood in there tough against him. I expect Abdelwahab to win this fight, but I think it's going to be ugly, ugly, ugly. I think it's going to be one where Barnett probably blows his load just doing ridiculous stuff in about 2 minutes. Abdelwahab completely takes over the fight from there and just can't finish it. Give me Abdelwahab by decision in an absolutely terrible fight.
Yeah, this fight. Can we just go right to the main event instead? Yeah, I just imagine some prince from that area requesting this fight just to get a laugh, get some comedy. Barnett, the dude's the shortest heavyweight of all time. The guy makes Daniel Cormier look like Sammy Schilt out there. And he's not just that he's short, he's also just this pudge ball. He makes Daniel Cormier look like a roided up Alistair Overeem. So, that said, he's more athletic than he looks. He'll do some spinning wheel kicks and he'll freaking dance and stuff. And but in fairness, I got a tomato in the fridge that looks more athletic than him. So he has tons of heart. I'll give him that. He has that traditional Taekwondo style. It's funny because he has that Taekwondo style. He reminds me of Kung Fu Panda. He's built like him. He's short like him. He's a southpaw. He likes to stay on the outside. And he gets in the pocket. He wants to brawl, throwing huge haymakers. He throws from his hips. He does a lot of Superman punches, which, I think does work fairly well for a shorter guy to close the distance easier. He'll do a lot of spinning attacks. We saw that against John Vellante. He likes to throw a lot of kicks, especially when he's going against an orthodox fighter. He uses a lot of movement, but he makes mistakes by backing straight up because of it. And like Ben Rothwell made him pay because he just uppercuts. Ben Rothwell just uppercut him because Barnett was just ducking his head when he got in the pocket and throwing hard. He's a somewhat okay wrestler. He's a bad defensive wrestler though, and he struggles when he just overpowered. Like Martin Badai just pinned him against the cage, and there's nothing he could do. It was like a big brother holding down his little brother against the cage. He struggles when he gets taken down by Ben Rothwell. If he's on top, he's got some decent ground and pound, but he's not a submission threat at all. Hamdy Abdelwahab, or however you say his name, not much MMA experience. All of his wins have come over like just bumps, just big back bumps.
he has 2 wins. Like he only has 6 professional wins, and 2 of them are over the same guy, and that guy is 0-2, and his only fights were with Hamdy Abdelwahab. Like it's embarrassing, like how bad his UFC record is.
You find out they both have the same manager, and the manager found him at like the bus stop and was like, "Hey," like some guy's like begging for quarters outside of a liquor store, and he's like, "Hey, you want to make some money? Want to get beat up by Hamdy?" In fairness, Hamdy's not gonna throw any punches or anything.
Hey, I mean, maybe the guy was Hamdy's steroid dealer, and he's like, "How many different ways can I help you get to the UFC?"
There you go. Hamdy probably still lost a round to him. I mean, his best win was beating Jamal Pogues. I thought he lost that fight. So, he's a short, stocky fighter. He's the definition of plotting, and it doesn't really matter because no matter what he does, he has a terrible fight IQ. He has insanely low output. He likes to slip and rip and throw bombs, but not often, I guess. He loves his overhand right. He'll throw some thudding leg kicks. He's an elite wrestler. But he's a Greco-Roman wrestler, which I've said before, I think is the least effective of the 3 main wrestling styles. I mean, he was still an Olympic wrestler, but that doesn't matter because he doesn't use it often. He completely abandoned his wrestling against Muhammad Usman. Going back to Mays, he did show some mat returns in that fight, so that's good. He abandoned his wrestling against Jamal Pogues. If he gets the fight down, he can dispatch some hard ground and pound, but his cardio is bad, and it's been bad in every UFC fight, and it's worse because it's not high output fights. So I think this is an all-time bad matchup that somehow it's made it a fantastic matchup. I really want to pick Barnett. I want him to move, spinning wheel kick, graze Hamdy's arm, get out of the way, do it again, completely guess, throw a punch, knock himself over, but still just do that more and just Hamdy not do anything, and then Barnett wins. But I still have to go Hamdy, but I don't feel good about it. If taking the jokes aside, if Barnett gets in the pocket, jabs, L steps, jabs, L steps, leg kicks, I think he could win. Yeah. But Hamdy easily could just take this guy down. He hits harder. He has the better kicks. All he has to do is actually fight, and he should win. The problem is I don't know if he will. Give me Hamdy, and I want to say it's everything we think it's good. I think it's going to be as ugly as possible. And he's going to win. Watch, he's going to be so bad. He's going to win a split decision. Give me Hamdy by split decision.
Oof. So it sounds like we're both calling for this to be the worst fight of the night. I do have to disagree with you on something. Okay. You may have heard Keith say that Greco-Roman wrestling is the worst for translating across to MMA. I would offer as a counterexample Dan Henderson and Iwan Kutalaba as people who clearly got so frustrated with how bad Greco-Roman wrestling is that they just turned into huge punchers.
Yeah, that's right.
It's like, I am so tired of this kind of wrestling. I'm just going to go to MMA and punch some guys with my right hand. That's where you get it.
And what I love is like people who like will like try to defend Greco. They'll name people who did Greco, but then realize when they came to MMA, they went back to their folk style wrestling moves. Like,
Randy
Randy
Couture.
Couture had Greco-Roman. Like, yeah, he also was the NCAA runner-up in folk style, and he was shooting double legs. Like he slammed Chuck Liddell with a double leg. He didn't pin him against the cage, chest to chest, work it underhook, do a slide by, and then gut wrench him. Like,
Yeah. the most effective Greco-Roman wrestler in MMA history is
Marco Madsen.
Roland Gardner. Roland Gardner.
Oh,
1-0.
Yeah.
1-0. Like gut wrenched Yoshida and held him down for 30 minutes, and like basically citizens arrested him, and that was the end of that fight. So, like,
I like what I say when people are like, oh, what about Greco-Roman? You know how Greco-Roman, they don't do Greco-Roman. Did you ever see them touch their legs? If they touch their legs, then they didn't do Greco-Roman.
nope. Featherweights take the cage next at UFC 321 as Nathaniel Wood squares off against Jose Delgado. Wood, the 32-year-old Englishman, is 21-6 overall. He is 9-3 since joining the UFC as the outgoing Cage Warriors bantamweight champ. He moved up to featherweight pretty quickly in his UFC run, and as I said, 9-3 in the promotion and on a 2-fight win streak dating back almost 2 full years at this point. He's already fought once this year. It was back in March at UFC Fight Night Edwards versus Brady, where he took a unanimous decision over Morgan Charrier. He'll look to make it 3 in a row, confirm himself still a rising factor in this division against Delgado. 27-year-old American, 10-1 overall. A perfect 2-0 since joining the UFC out of Season 8 of Dana White's Contender Series. He's already fought twice this year, knocking out Conor Matheus in his UFC debut in February, and then coming back in June at UFC 317 and knocking out the formerly red-hot Hyder Emil in just 26 seconds. So Delgado, third fight this year, he's put in barely half a round of cage time in his first 2 appearances. All of a sudden, the person of interest in the division, and interesting enough that he is coming in as the slight favorite here over the veteran Wood. Delgado is -150, Wood +125 as your underdog. Keith, I'm going to flip this to you, but you mentioned Delgado as somebody that is kind of an interesting newcomer in this division. It is awfully hard to make a splash at featherweight early. I mean, this is famously a division where you need to win 5 or 6 in a row even to get on the radar. But when you, again, knock out Conor Matheus in like 3 minutes, and then you come back and basically steal the momentum from Hyder Emil, who had been ripping up the division, you get on some people's radar, and here he is. Tell me who you think wins this and what kind of upside you see in the 27-year-old.
Yeah, well, I'll say beating Hyder Emil is a much bigger way than beating Conor Matheus. But yeah, the point is to get that kind of buzz already being in this division is and to not have a huge personality, because you can get it if you have a huge personality. You know, I think about obviously Conor McGregor when Paddy Pimblett used to fight in 145. I know he didn't fight there at the UFC, but like those people, you understand why. It's the fighting, but also the personality. He's dealing with his fighting, and he's good, but he's got a tough match. Nathaniel Wood is just been just a solid veteran guy. He's undersized for the division, we know that, but he's a good striker, very good boxing, accurate, works behind a good jab. He's got a great straight right. He showed power in his fight against Daniel Pineda. He kept hurting him. He likes to avoid shots with shoulder rolls, which I'm not a fan of. He has been hit more than I like. He's been rocked in a bunch of fights, but he's super tough, and he's in durable. Good teep kicks up the middle. I mean, it's been a while ago, but I go back to like the Charles Rosa fight where he just destroyed him with calf kicks. He combines his punches and kicks together well, especially in the pocket. He isn't a bad wrestler. Nice takedowns, usually from the body lock position, but he can also shoot some takedowns from the outside. He's a good overall grappler. He's a big submission threat. He's got 6 subs on his record, and he's got a good submission defense. Now, Delgado is the prospect I was looking at. He's looked really good so far in the UFC. He fights out of both stances. He's a high output striker. He's technically sound on the feet, likes to work from distance. changes his stance in mid combo, which that's one of my favorite techniques. Constantly attacking with combinations. He has really good power. He's got 5 TKOs already. He showed power against Conor Matheus, but I don't think Conor Matheus is really UFC level. But then he knocked out Hyder Emil. I mean, I know it was a knee, but still, like he's showing he's got this killer instinct. He throws out some spinning attacks. He throws some hard kicks, great knees inside. Obviously, we go back to the Emil fight. He also did the same thing on the Contender Series, so he showed that the Contender Series win that way wasn't a fluke. He's a solid wrestler. He can wrestle. He likes body lock takedowns. He also shoot from the outside. He will shoot with his head down, which I've said before is like a youth wrestling mistake. Makes it very easy. It's like a plane. If your head nose is down, you're gonna crash into the ground. Same thing with I tell youth wrestlers. So he kind of gets in a position where you can kind of stuff his head down. If he gets the fight to the ground, though, I like his top game. Good top game, solid back takes. He's got 4 subs on his record. He did gas a little on Contender Series, but in fairness, he did take that fight on short notice. So this fight is so good. I kept flipping my pick. Delgado is younger. He's bigger. He hits hard. Probably, I don't know if he hits harder, but he definitely hits hard of these two. No, yeah, he definitely hits harder. Wood has the experience, though. I am worried about his durability, and Delgado hits hard. Not that Wood has been knocked out, but just he's been in a lot of wars. That said, you said Delgado's a favorite?
Yeah, slight favorite, minus 150, Wood plus 125. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't mind him being the favorite. And I know 150 is not by much, but man, I'm surprised this isn't like just a pick 'em. I'm leaning Wood with no confidence. I know he's beaten some really good guys, better athletes, guys with more weapons than him. He's a crafty guy.
The Charles Jourdain win has aged pretty damn well.
Fantastic. Yes. Yeah. He's a crafty guy. I think he can get some timely takedowns. I think he can land his jab. I think it's going to be very close. I think he's just going to do enough to get another close win. Give me Wood by split decision.
I love the upset pick there. I went back and forth on that for all the reasons you mentioned. And I get why Delgado is the favorite.
Let me jump in real quick. Sorry to interrupt it. This is not me dogging Delgado. I just love Wood. Like, I think Delgado is a great prospect. So, like we always say, what we talk about on a recap show, what's most intriguing to talk about is what I root for. Like, I've been rooting for Delgado to get like a spectacular knockout.
Yeah, like
back for the UFC. Good.
Yeah, if Delgado just dumps Wood like a heavy bag like he did his first 2 UFC opponents, we're not seeing Jose Delgado in any more prelims. He's probably getting a top 15 guy in his next fight. Like, he'll be
absolutely.
People have beaten Nathaniel Wood. Nobody's made it look easy. So yeah, this is, man, you got me even more excited about this fight. It was already probably the best fight on the prelims, but now, man, yeah, Wood's going to look a weight class smaller. While he has been a really fun fighter across his UFC run, Delgado already has a better highlight reel after 2 fights. Delgado he's the latest guy from MMA Lab. For a camp as big as they are, it kind of flies under the radar what an impressive and diverse cast of strikers that they've cranked out over the last 6 or 7 years. Like, I mean, I know Sean O'Malley kind of comes with his own team and it's like a pop-up, it's like a pop-up restaurant inside a regular, but there's him.
That's Tim Welsh's guy,
but that's where he goes physically and where he gets his sparring partners. You got like Mario Bautista there and Kyler Phillips and now Delgado. I can see the upset. I could see it happening. I could see, and if Wood gets the upset, it's probably going to be like a close decision in a blood and guts fight where we're saying on the recap, that's the best win of Wood's career. And if they run it back 2 years from now, it's probably not going to look like this. Like, that wouldn't surprise me at all. But I'm going to say Delgado passes another test. I don't think this thing is going to be some first round knockout where he just blows Wood in the next week. Again, We've seen no indication that Wood is particularly susceptible to that. And he has fought a lot of bigger, faster, harder hitting guys. Like even going all the way back, like Andre Ewell is cut from the same mold physically as Delgado. We already talked about Charles Jourdain, who again, taller, rangier, better fast twitch athlete, harder hitter. Wood is proven to be capable of being a spoiler in a fight like that. I don't think he manages to spoil this one all the way. Give me Delgado by a decision in a fight where, yeah, Delgado wins 2 rounds, and it may even just be from individual big moments of offense. This may be a fight where Delgado wins the decision just by winning about 45 seconds of the fight. I think Wood's probably going to frustrate him some. But yeah, give me Delgado to win, and again, probably not be long for the prelims. Next up on the UFC 321 prelims is the second of the 4 scheduled heavyweight fights on the night. This one, Valter Walker versus Louie Sutherland. Walker, the 27-year-old Brazilian, by way of Russia, is 14-1 overall. He's 3-1 in the UFC. He made his debut about 18 months ago. It was not an auspicious beginning as he came out on the wrong end of a unanimous decision against Lucas Dreski. Since then, of course, he has rattled off 3 straight wins, 3 straight first round finishes, 3 straight submissions, 3 straight heel hooks. Yes, unprecedented in the history of the UFC, probably in the history of any major organization. He is an anachronism, a throwback, a heel hook machine. He's going to look to make it 4 in a row, or at least 4 wins in a row, against the debuting Sutherland. 31-year-old Englishman, 10-3 overall. Again, this will be his UFC debut. He was scheduled to fight about a month ago. He was going to have Justin Tafa as his debut opponent. Tafa was forced to withdraw from the fight. He ended up back on the shelf for about a month. But here he is making his UFC debut. He is a big underdog. Walker is minus 310, Sutherland plus 250. I said off the top during the intro that I'm excited to have Louie Sutherland in the UFC. And I think at worst, he kind of pans out as the next Mick Parkin. And it's an easy comparison to make because they're visually similar. They're both huge, pasty white English guys. They're both about 6'3". They're both about 260 pounds. Neither of them is fat per se. Like they're not Tom Aspinall. They don't look like a comic book fighter, but they're not Chris Barnett either. They're just kind of big barrel chest. They look like bouncers. And despite being huge guys that want to strike, they're both actually more technical, composed boxers and less one-shot kill artists than you would expect from looking at them. But if there is an English tendency in MMA, I guess it's to oversell your one-punch power. Just ask Brad Pickett. But yeah, I'm excited to have Louie Sutherland in the UFC. I feel like I say this anytime a new heavyweight makes a debut in the UFC, but really at heavyweight, all you need to stick around and maybe even make the top 10 is to be good at 1 or 2 things and have the durability, the aggression, and the fight IQ to bring those things to bear against your opponent. Like you don't even need good fight IQ. You just need like double-digit fight IQ. Because of that, I think there's actually a decent chance that Sutherland beats Walker on Saturday. Like what Walker's ridiculous string of heel hooks has kind of hidden is the fact that his striking is so wild that it makes his brother Johnny Walker look like, I don't know, it makes him look like Alexander Rakic by comparison, where Rakic is just this extremely composed, technical, almost deliberate to a fault like type striker. That's basically what Valter makes Johnny look like. He just comes across the cage swinging like a maniac, gets his hands on his opponent, drags him down. None of his takedowns really have names. Like his preferred thing to do is to run the guy into the cage and just try to tip him over with an underhook. Or if he can meet him in the middle of the cage, just basically bowl him over with just sheer size and velocity. But if that doesn't work, he's perfectly happy to do a pseudo guard pull because all he's doing is going straight for a leg as soon as he gets the guy down. Like we remember him getting the crazy inverted heel hook on Kennedy Zechikwu, but you run that same position 10 times, maybe 3 of those 10 times, Zechiku hits him with 3 hammer fists and it's a different fight. Like, I don't think that was particularly a fluke, but Walker is employing a super high risk approach that, kind of like his brother, it's worked like gangbusters so far, but the first time it doesn't work, he is going to look so bad. Again, kind of like when his brother lost his first couple fights. So there's the possibility that when Walker runs into a surprisingly nimble 265-pound guy with a low center of gravity like Sutherland and can't bowl him right over, he gets stuck on the feet and Sutherland's just popping him right in the face with the jab while Walker swings these big looping crazy things. Like there's a possibility that Sutherland completely exposes Walker here. Part of me is rooting for that just because I have nothing against Valter Walker, but if you're going to give me this fight, I'm going to root for something hilarious to happen. Almost all of the possible outcomes are pretty hilarious here. The 2 most likely outcomes to me are Walker by first round submission.
Sure.
It can't possibly be another heel hook. Everybody knows it's coming at this point. Sutherland trains with a good team. I wonder if Sutherland should just like come out on his knees or something. I don't know. But the second most likely possibility is that Sutherland gets a TKO and somewhere in the middle of the fight because Walker's stuck on the feet, pulling guard. Sutherland is just backing up, telling him to get up and punching him in the face. I'm going with Walker to get another first round submission, even though I think Sutherland is a substantial step up from the people that Walker's been beating so far. I'm going to say he gets it done one more time. I'm still happy to have Sutherland in the UFC. I think he actually has more upside in the division than Walker does. I'm, mildly interested in him as a prospect, whereas I still think Valter Walker is a novelty, but the novelty is going to hold up for one more week. Give me Walker by first round submission.
I can't believe you said you're rooting against Valter Walker. I mean, shame on you, Ben. Who are you? That is terrible. Valter Walker is my favorite fighter on the card. I love everything. Yes. Do I think everything's going to come crashing down? Absolutely. But what a run is it going to be? This guy, I mean, he's a really big dude. He's 6'6". In fact, since he made his UFC debut, he's lost some weight. He's looking like he's in better shape. I mean, his striking is so ugly. No technique at all. He just pressures. I mean, I don't want to say pressures opponent. He just bull rushes his opponents, throwing big looping punches. He's massive. He can get it. He can get a KO if he lands.
Can I draw you out about a topic just for people that maybe haven't listened to our show for as long?
Sure.
Like, because you just made a distinction that I want to make, but you're better at explaining it than me. Like, let's talk about the difference between being a pressure fighter and just being a fighter that comes forward. Because pressure, like the idea of pressure is to draw certain reactions out of your opponent.
Sure. Yeah. Like Anthony Hernandez is a perfect pressure fighter because he's coming at you, but there is a game plan to it. He's trying to get you to work at a certain pace. He's trying to get you to force you to fight on your back foot. If you've ever, I remember I was training a fighter for a little while. It was a long time ago, but she was a extremely high level judo, like almost made the Olympic team. She thought about going into MMA, and she's a very judo. She always would fight to get inside the collars, and that was her thing. So I would hold mitts with her, and I would tell her to pressure me, and just the pressure of her coming forward. And sometimes we'd spar, but I'm like, obviously I'm not hitting her as hard as I can. She's brand new to MMA. And just trouble with her coming at me, how much it sucks. And she was 115 pounds. She was super small. She's probably 5'1", maybe not even. Absolute sweetheart, but on the mat, she'll rip your head off. I feel bad. Not feel bad. It's too bad she got outside pressure to not to do MMA, and they just whatever. That's fine, but it is tough fighting out. There's a reason why it's harder to be a cornerback than it is to be a wide receiver. it's harder going back. It's harder to react. It's tough. Compared to bull rushing, there's no game on. I want to get it to as close to you as possible. So it's almost like a panic. If that makes sense. Like it's not a game plan. I'm in a panic, and I'm just going to run to you and get there as soon as possible. And we see that with Walker, but to his credit, like it works at heavyweight. Because of his size, he likes to use step in these two. He'll throw high kicks. I'll go back to like the Alex Nicholson fight. He landed 2 high kicks against Alex Nicholson. His striking defense is bad. He eats many shots. He pulls his head straight back on the center line. But all his striking is a close distance. He just swarmed Kennedy and Chuko with, on him right away, bull rushed him. He likes to use his size, get to the clinch, land some knees inside. He isn't a bad wrestler. His entries are actually pretty good, especially for heavyweight. I mean, he easily took down Dontel Mays. His control on the ground is pretty good. Some of that just being like a massive dude on top of people. When he throws, hands on top, he's got some mean ground and pound, and he is a submission threat. I mean, we joke he's the master of heel hooks. He hits him from every position. I've said before. I said he's like the Usman Paul Harris of the heavyweight division without being the dick. I am concerned he has on the regional scene. He has gassed out bad when the fight's gone 15 minutes. But when you're like, if you do a 5K and you sprint the first 300 yards of it, you're gonna be pretty damn gassed. I don't care if it's only a 5K. You're gonna be pretty gassed the rest of the race. He one thing I will say about his heel hooks, I think how many in a row has it been? 3?
3.
Yeah, he claims like those are just 3 that you've seen. He claims he has like 15 other ones from different other positions. So I hope he's not like blown. I actually hope it's true. I hope he's just this like incredible. Like I can get a heel hook from it anywhere. Louie Sutherland, the guy, he has feasted on some low level guys. We've talked about him before. Yeah. Never got to break down his fight. So like my notes are all the same. Like we what was it 2-3 weeks ago he was supposed to fight, and he's a very physically strong guy. I just don't know who we're getting because I've seen multiple fights with this guy. In one fight, he's got huge muscles. He's absolutely jacked, and the next one he's got a massive beer belly. So I said one looks like he lifts kegs. The other one says he looks like he drinks kegs. So I'm not sure who we're getting. I'm hoping we're getting the jacked up one. But when he's fighting, he's throwing big overhand rights. He loads up on everything. He gets in the clinch. He has mean knees. He'll grab a snatch single, but I wouldn't call him a wrestler. He kind of just ducks his head and grabs the leg. If he gets it down, crazy good 12-6 elbows from on top. Also, he throws a lot of calf kicks and mean ground and pound. Sutherland's a big guy. I mean, he hits like a hammer. If Walker rolls for a heel hook and stays underneath him, Sutherland might crush his skull with like some, 12-6 elbows or anything like that. However, I don't think that's going to happen. I think Walker's going to close the distance. I think he's going to get trip Sutherland down. And I'm going to pick the only thing Ben should be rooting for is not just Walker winning, but that he gets another heel hook. I'm going to say he does it. Let's go, Walker. First round heel hook submission win.
Lightweights are up next at UFC 321 as Abdul-Kareem Al-Selwady and Matheus Camilo both look for their first UFC win. Al-Selwady, the 30-year-old Louisianan training out of Dallas, is 15-4 overall. He is 0-1 since joining the UFC out of Season 7 of Dana White's Contender Series and as the former Fury FC lightweight champ. He made his UFC debut all the way last March, about 18 months ago, getting knocked out in the 3rd round by Loic Rajabov. He's been on the shelf ever since. Variety of injury type issues, hasn't even had a fight scheduled, but he's back in the cage now against a fellow Fury vet in Camilo. 24-year-old Brazilian is 9-3 overall. He is also 0-1 in the UFC. He made his debut back in May at UFC Fight Night Burns versus Morales, where he got tapped out in the 2nd round by Gabe Green. So 2 gentlemen still mildly intriguing prospects despite their UFC debuts not going their way. The line is pretty close to a pick'em, but Al-Selwady is a slight favorite. He's -120. Camilo even money +100. It's lightweight. Nobody is close to the title picture, but Do you see that kind of upside in either of these guys? And who gets it done on Saturday, Keith?
Title pitcher, I'm going to say no, just because, like you set it up. Like title pitcher, this is as hard as it comes. It's like going to a high school football game and seeing this spectacular player and be like, "Hey, you see this guy playing the NFL one day?" Like,
no,
maybe. Like there was a guy in my high school that I grew up with who played in the NFL, but if you ask me, was he going to play in the NFL? I'm like, maybe, probably not. That's how I kind of feel this way. But I do see two guys I kind of like. They're definitely UFC talent. And I think they could maybe crack the top 15 one day. Is that like, I think that's a little fair question asked, but just still a hell of a feat in the UFC. Al-Selwady is very athletic, uses a lot of movement on the feet. He's a good striker. What I like about him, he has the rare ability to strike while backing up. He's good at darting in and out of range well, changes stances back and forth between orthodox and southpaw, uses good footwork to cut angles and attack. He has good output on the feet, good variety in his striking. He'll throw some step-in elbows, which, I mean, I like step-in knees. I also love step-in elbows. He sets up his shots well with feints, good snap on his shots. I like his power. He throws some hard calf kicks. He sets up his takedowns with his striking, and he does it both back and forth both ways. He'll set up his striking with threats of the takedown. Not a bad wrestler at all. Fast entries, good reactionary double when his opponents over pursue or overthrow. Has the mindset to keep pursuing takedowns, and he's got a great gas tank. He can go hard all 15 minutes. Camilo, he's only 24 years old, so I love that. I like him despite his loss to Gabe Green. I thought he looked pretty good in that fight. And Gabe Green is a crafty. I think Gabe Green is an underrated fighter. He likes to work from space, but sometimes he struggles to keep it. He hated the pressure from his opponent on Dana White's Contender Series matchup. But he's a good boxer when he gets his distance. Bit of a stationary target. He tends to stand right in front of his opponent, which I don't like. He uses a lot of feints. Does have some low output, way too many single strikes. I like that he targets the body. He has nice power. When he lets his, when he steps into it, like when he lets his hands go, he really steps into his shots, which is good. He can even overthrow his strikes by stepping in so much. I like his calf kicks. He can sneak in a takedown, but I would not call him a wrestler. He's a weak defensive wrestler. He tends to struggle to get off the bottom. He has 2 submission wins. He does toss up a lot of subs off his back. He almost subbed Gabe Green a bunch of times in that fight. And Gabe Green is just like, he's a crafty veteran. I like both fighters. Due to the wrestling advantage and the big output advantage, I am leaning Al-Selwady. I think if he takes Camilo down, he'll have to avoid the subs, though Al-Selwady has a lot of grappling experience himself. And I think his output is why I'm leaning towards him. Give me Al-Selwady by decision.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of hinted at it as I'm introducing these two and as I handed this one off to you, but I feel as though these guys, despite losing their UFC debuts, by the eyeball test, they both belong in the UFC. And for some of the reasons you mentioned, like Camilo looked pretty good against Gabe Green, a guy that himself underrated. And then Al-Selwady against Loic Rajabov, a guy that, again, he's not a bad fighter. I think he's sitting around 500 in the UFC right now. He's beaten some decent people. Al-Selwady absolutely held his own. I thought it was 1 round apiece heading into the third. Al-Selwady was honestly the guy with the momentum at that point, and then he just got flatlined by a single huge punch, and fight was over. Like, I think within seconds in the third round. You already laid it out. The difference in volume between the two, and the fact that Al-Selwady is a good offensive wrestler, means that rounds that are even remotely close are probably going to be more likely to swing Al-Selwady's way. That alone, to me, justifies him being the slight betting favorite. Yeah, I mean, I have Al-Selwady by decision here as well, unless he looks severely compromised coming back for the first time in 18 months, but I have no reason to believe that. So give me Al-Selwady by decision as well, but considering that Camilo is so much younger, a very good athlete, a bigger guy for the division, he might have more upside ultimately. Like, we kind of talked about it earlier in this segment, that it's hard to make your way into the top 10 at lightweight, one of the hardest divisions in the UFC. But if either of these guys is at some point in the next 3 years, it's probably more likely Camilo. I see him as a guy with, probably slightly better raw tools who could make adjustments in his approach. But as far as this Saturday, yeah, I lean Al-Selwady as well. So it's unanimous. We stay in the lightweight division on the UFC 321 undercard as Ludovit Klein and Matheus Rebecki square off. Klein, the 30-year-old Slovakian, is 23-5-1 overall. He is 7-3-1 in the UFC. He bounced back and forth between featherweight and lightweight early on, but he has been settled in at lightweight for a while, and he had been on a 7-fight unbeaten streak, 4 straight wins before running into Mateusz Gamrot at UFC on ESPN Blanchfield versus Barber this May. He came out on the wrong end of a unanimous decision against a guy in Gamrot that's frankly a top 5 or 6 fighter. So not too much shame there, but he does need to start up a new win streak. He will need to do so against Rebecki. 33-year-old from Poland is 20-3 overall. He is 4-2 since joining the UFC out of season 6 of Dana White's Contender Series. He got off to a pretty hot start after the Contender Series, but he has alternated losses and wins over his last 3 fights and is coming in off a loss. He fought at UFC on ESPN Tyra versus Park back in August, where he lost a unanimous decision to Chris Duncan. So he is also looking to get back in the win column here. He is not favored to do so. It's one of the closer lines on the card, but Klein is -140, Rebecki +115. Keith, I don't know if this is the best fight on the card, though, as you mentioned, it might be the best prelim. It is certainly the most muscular and lowest body fat fight on the card, as these are 2 absolutely jacked individuals. Yeah, tell me who you think gets it done here, how the fight plays out. Yeah, tell me about this one.
Yeah, just put these 2 guys on the same card as Barnett. This this fight is going to be an action fight for sure. Like, if you had me guess, just, I had to bet my life savings which fight is fight of the night, and I had to just pick just one. This one I would pick. Rebecki, he has been really inconsistent. I mean, I've said this before. He looked great against like Razabov, against what's his first name? Oralbai is his last name. I can't remember his first name.
Miktabek Oralbai, yeah.
Yeah, Miktabek Oralbai. Who would have guessed that I wouldn't be able to get Miktabek? or is it more like I just wrote his last name because I'm like, I ain't even trying to say that first name. I'll have Ben say it. But then he looked terrible against Carlos Diego Ferreira, and I have no read on him at all. Like I don't know who he is. He's a short, compact fighter. He's a southpaw, insane volume on the feet, constantly on the gas. He's a pressure striker, kind of bob and weave style to get inside. Gets inside and he throws some hard hooks. He's got nice power. He's got 8 TKOs. He targets the body. He likes inside kicks. He beat Razabov with leg kicks, but he eats a lot of shots. I mean, this dude is the toughest son of a bitch alive. And the amount of damage he took from Chris Duncan in his last fight was insane.
And the Oralbai fight was the same. Like
the Oralbai, yeah,
they beat the shit out of each other.
The Duncan one was like, that fight is, yeah. Actually, you're right. Both fights. The Duncan fight was like that. Could be a Hall of Fame fight one day. Like that might get in. If that was. Take out them and replace them with main event type guys.
If Justin Gaethje was one of their fighters, that would have been everyone's fight of the year.
100%. That's exactly right. If that was Justin Gaethje versus one of these guys, yes. Or fill in two main event guys that's going to the UFC Hall of Fame one day. He's a decent wrestler, but I think his wrestling's overrated. I don't think it's as good as I once thought it was, but he's very physically strong. I mean, we saw that in the Contender Series when he just picked up and slammed his foe. If he gets to fight the ground, I like his top game. He moves to a better position. He had Razabov in a crucifix. He's got some slick back takes, good ground and pound. He has 6 subs. He hit Roberts with one of the slickest arm bars I've ever seen. His cardio has been super inconsistent, but his cardio was off the charts against Chris Duncan And so those days where like he was gassing out against Carlos Tejeda, I think those are behind him. Klein, he's also a great athlete. Southpaw, he moves well with his footwork. His striking is inconsistent though. I don't know what it is. I have no idea what his striking. Like one fight, he looks like the best striker in the division, and the next fight he looks like pretty mid. So I don't know. He is technical on the feet. He sets up his shots well with feints. He does need to improve his volume, but he can be very accurate at times. He's got quick hands. He's explosive. Works a nice jab. Targets the body. He loves the fade back left hand. He hits very hard. That's because he has great foot placement, big kicking game, hard kicks to the body, mean calf kicks. He's got a fast high kick. He's a better wrestler than I originally thought. He can get takedowns. He can get some quick entries. His defensive wrestling is inconsistent. It looks good in some fights and then bad in others. He has a submission threat, but he struggled to get off the bottom against Mateusz Gamrot. But, I mean, it's Gamrot. As far as prediction goes, I have no clue on this one. I feel like I'm going to pick the winner, and that winner is going to be wrong. I don't have a good read on this fight because they both have looked absolutely spectacular, like top 10 guys in the division, and then they both have looked terrible at times. Rebecki eats too many shots, and Klein is too accurate. I'm going to say Klein hurts and drops Rebecki a bunch of times, but Rebecki is so tough that he gets back into it. He makes it a war. Both guys get hurt. Both guys are bloodied. I'm going to say Klein wins due to just being the cleaner, harder hitter. Give me Klein by decision. But again, I do not have a good read on this. And I'm kind of happy I don't have a good read because I just want to sit back and watch this and I think we're going to be highly entertained by this fight.
I could not possibly agree more, especially on that last point. I underestimated Matheus Rebecki early on in his UFC run. Like he came to the UFC with this ridiculous record. I want to say he was like 16-1 or something. He had won 13 straight fights, just blasting people in kind of second tier European promotions. He's not a guy that came to the UFC through KSW or Octagon or M1 or something. He was always in second tier promotions where he rattled off something like 5 or 6 first round knockouts in a row, just over terrible fighters. And when he got to the UFC, and even after he won his debut against Nick Fiore, I'm like, yeah, he beat Fiore. I think he won all 3 rounds, but a guy that's actually a future contender at lightweight, like junks, like trashes Nick Fiore. You know, Fiore is a lower level lightweight. I've come around on Rebecki. If you asked, and I mean, you didn't ask me, but you didn't have to because we previewed the fight and I volunteered the information. But, 2 or 3 years ago when we were talking about Rebecki, I was like, yeah, he's not quite as athletic or explosive as his regional tape makes him look. He's going to have cardio issues at this level, just being built the way he is and fighting at such a furious pace. His wrestling's effective more than technical. Like, I mean, he already looks like Polish Michael Chandler. And I'm like, it's kind of the Chandler thing where Chandler has great technique. Like you don't become an All-American without good technique, sure. But he also finishes takedowns with sheer horsepower that other guys wouldn't be able to finish. Like
just being an insane athlete. Yeah.
Yeah. Like Rebecki had some of that. He's better than I expected. That's the best I can say, but he is inconsistent. Absolutely. And the most inconsistent thing about him is his durability and cardio. The Ferreira fight, I mean, as much as I love Diego Ferreira, that might be the last time we ever see Ferreira pull off a Ferreira special where he just runs a guy into the dirt in the 3rd round. Klein?
Yeah, that's definitely true.
Yeah. Klein, you put it perfectly. Like he is exactly the athlete it looks like he is. I mean, these are both guys that are short and stocky and muscular and undersized for lightweight. I mean, if you want to call this like, poor man's Rafael Fiziev versus poor man's Michael Chandler, I think that's what this fight kind of is in some ways. I'm leaning Klein as well for most of the reasons you mentioned. They both hit hard, but Klein is more accurate, throws a more diverse arsenal of strikes. Of the two, I've already said that, Rebecki is more like he has more durability and staying power than I gave him credit for. He's been in 2 absolute wars in his last couple of fights. But at 33, if one of these guys is, having the top gear slip a little bit, it's going to be Rebecki as the older guy that has taken just 2 Junior Dos Santos worth of punishment over the last 2 years in his last couple of fights. So I'm going to take Klein by decision as well here. But yeah, I expect an absolute barn burner. And this is the fight that will deserve fight of the night, whether or not it ends up winning it. Middleweights are up next at UFC 321 as Ikram Aliskerov faces off against Jun-Yong Park. Aliskerov, the 32-year-old Dagestani, is 16-2 overall. He's 3-1 since joining the UFC out of season 6 of Dana White's Contender Series. He's already fought once this year. He fought at UFC on ESPN Gary versus Prates back in April, where he picked up a kind of buzzer-beating first-round TKO over Andre Muniz. That allowed him to bounce back from the disastrous outcome of his first UFC headliner as he faced Robert Whittaker last summer as the short notice B-side of UFC on ABC 6 and got himself knocked out in about 2 minutes. So he's back in the win column, has reasserted himself as what appears to be a top 10 talent in this division. He will look to take another step against a perennial fringe contender in Park. 34-year-old South Korean, 19-6 overall, 9-3 in the UFC, and he is on a 2-fight win streak, though I'll give you more on that in a moment. But since losing a split decision to Andre Muniz just a little under 2 years ago, he has rattled off decision wins over Brad Tavares and Ismail Nardiev. The most recent of those, the Nardiev fight, was back in June at UFC on ABC Hill versus Roundtree. So 2 gentlemen looking to build on their current momentum, claw just a little bit higher in the middleweight title picture. Aliskerov is comfortably favored to be the one who does that, as he is minus 275, Park plus 225. First thing I'll say is, I just mentioned Jun-Yong Park is on a 2-fight win streak. I should mention that his split decision loss to Andre Muniz back in December of 2023 was controversial, to say the least.
Yeah.
Like, if you go to MMA decisions, at least 3/4 of the professional observers thought Park should have won. I don't know if it was an absolute robbery, but I thought Park won that fight. And if he had won that fight, we'd be talking about him on a 7-fight win streak. And he might still be facing Aliskerov, but he'd be the A side of the fight and they would be higher on the card.
Yeah. I scored it for Park too. And honestly, a 7-fight winning streak in that division, he might have been fighting De Ridder, last night. That was
he might have been the guy that got the call against De Ridder. And we said on the recap for that fight, and again, that's not even 24 hours ago as we speak right now, how bad would Fluffy Hernandez have wrecked Reinier De Ridder based on what we saw? Jun-Yong Park is not Fluffy Hernandez, but he is another guy that you don't want to be the first one to get tired against him. So yeah. Only narrowly do we even have Jun-Yong Park on these prelims. There are a number of true facts about this fight. Ikram Aliskerov is 16-2 as a professional. He's only lost twice. That's the good news. The bad news is that he got dusted both times. It was once by Khamzat Chimaev a million years ago when they were both fighting, in Central Asia, at least 4 or 5 years before either of them got to the UFC. And then there was the Whittaker fight last summer, which
sure,
it doesn't excuse getting knocked the hell out in like a minute and a half, but he did step up on short notice, ironically, for Khamzat Chimaev. And yeah, Robert Whittaker's not the guy you want to have to try to strike with on no preparation. So on the one hand, I'm not saying he is, but it's possible that Ikram Aliskerov is one of the 5 best middleweights in the world right now. Like, the only people he's lost to are the champ and like a top 3 or top 4 guy. But on the other hand, he seems like exactly the kind of fighter that Jun-Yong Park is going to give a much tougher fight to than the odds would lead you to believe. Park is 9-3 in the UFC right now. He's lost to Fluffy Hernandez in, I think, his UFC debut. He's lost to Gregory Rodriguez, and then he had the razor close fight against Muniz that at least Keith and I both think he should have won. Jin Young Park at middleweight, he is definitely all Shillen and Duffy team. Like, it's got to be second team after Fluffy Hernandez, but considering how few really good fighters there are at middleweight right now, that's actually a pretty damn good 1-2 punch. But he is our kind of guy in that he is such an overachiever. Like, he's not big for the division. He's not athletic for the division. He's just your classic well-rounded guy that does everything decently, but he's so tough. He's so game. He's always very, very well conditioned. And like you would expect of a guy whose nickname is the Iron Turtle, durability is kind of a calling card for him. This feels like almost a 2 true outcomes fight to me. And because of that, like, if I pick it wrong, I'm just going to pick it really damn wrong. There's the possibility that Aliskerov becomes the first guy in the UFC that actually just does blitz park and get him the hell out of there. Aliskerov is big. He's very athletic. He hits super hard. He's a good wrestler. Ironically, considering how intertwined his fate has been with Khamzat Chimaev, he's a little like a poor man Chimaev in some ways. Like a big athletic dude from, one of the stands that is a good wrestler and an effective striker that it works just because of his physical tools a lot of the time. He could very easily be the first guy to really blitz park and get him out of there in the first round. He could also be just one more guy that he messes up Park in the first round. It's a 10-9 bordering on 10-8 round, and then Park just puts it on him for the next 2 rounds. We might discover that Ikram Aliskerov is a front runner in this fight. I'm really tempted to take the upset here. And you know what? I've been going back and forth about it all week. Put me down. I'm riding with our guy. Ikram Aliskerov is going to hurt Jun Young Park badly in this fight. He's going to hurt him badly in this fight within the first half of the first round. What I'm calling is that Park doesn't go away. And if he doesn't go away, I do think he claws his way back in and either wins this fight or we see a draw, like a majority draw type thing where 2 of the judges gave Aliskerov a 10-8 first round. But I'm not saying that Aliskerov is definitely a front runner, but I could see him being the guy that just through a combination of physical fatigue, frustration, and inability to make proper adjustments between rounds, just kind of looks frustrated and out of his depth by the end of his fight. Like, in about an hour here, Keith and I are going to be talking about Umar Nurmagomedov and his fight with Rob Dvalishvili is obviously going to come up. Could see that thing where you could just see how frustrated Umar was by the end of the fight, where I'm sure he was still thinking, I'm the better fighter here. Just, this isn't my night. This guy's got my number. Fuck. Give me Park in the pretty substantial upset here. I'm going to say he wins a decision. Wouldn't surprise me if it was a split decision, or a majority decision where one of the judges scores at a draw or something. But yeah, give me Park in the pretty big upset here. And if I'm wrong, I'll know really, really quick.
Ben, give me the betting lines again.
Aliskerov minus 275, Jun Young Park plus 225.
So Brendan Allen fought last night and won and beat DeRitter, and obviously is a huge win in his career. Where, I know it hasn't been announced yet, but by the time people listen to this, our rankings will be out. Where's Brendan Allen going to be ranked on our website? Give me a range. Give me a range. You don't have to give me the exact number if you know, but give me a range.
He's number 6.
Okay, number 6. So if you want to go 5, you want to go 8, somewhere in that range. Okay, yeah. But we'll say number 6. Other sites might have other, differently. Brendan Allen is the number 6 guy in the world, rightfully so.
Mm-hmm.
Brendan Allen should not be a negative. What'd you say? 240, 250. What was it?
275 minus 275.
I'm sorry. Yeah. 275. Brendan Allen should not be a negative 275 favorite against Park. Imavov. What is he? Top 3 in the world?
He's number 3 after Chimaev and Duplessis.
I don't know if I would put him negative 275 against Park.
Yeah.
Like, this guy's fucking good. Like, really good. And it's like, You know, I'm glad you mentioned the thing about Muniz. I think maybe you add a 7-fight winning streak that would change the odds. This guy is a high output striker. He stalks his foe. He's constantly on the pressure. Ismail Nordiev is a good fighter, not Aliskerov level, but he's good.
Mm-hmm.
And he broke him mentally with his pressure. He definitely wants to be the bull. He doesn't want to be the one, he doesn't want to be a matador. He struggles when he's like kind of forced to back up instead of like sidestepping and then being back on the gas. He is great in the pocket. He gets in there. He's constantly throwing big shots. He's constantly getting, I shouldn't say big shots. He's constantly getting output out there because he'll just touch, wait till it's open, and then he'll land. That's when he lands the big shots. He's good at picking up his opponent's timing. He gets to the body a lot. Mean calf kicks, really durable. I mean, he eats a lot of shots because he walks through, but he's going to land some of his own. His wrestling is awesome. Does not get talked about enough. He's constantly taking guys down. His takedowns is not even just about getting takedowns. It's also about getting his opponent tired. He's a good grappler, good top game, secures positions before looking for punishment, has really good ground and pound. I still think he needs to improve his defensive wrestling, but he has just because you can take him down might not be the best idea because he's going to get right back up and you're going to waste energy doing it. He has a submission threat. He has 6 subs on his record, and he showed strong submission defense against Andre Muniz. And that was a different Andre Muniz when he lost. I know it wasn't that long ago, but like Muniz looks like he's completely shot. He wasn't shot then. Yeah. Aliskerov, he's a really well-rounded fighter. I like his boxing. He just stalks his opponents. He keeps everything short, tight, nice jab, follows with some clean shots down the pike. His striking is nice and tight. He's got a great left hook. He's shown really good power. He has 7 TKOs. I mean, he starched Phil Hawes. Biggest issue is his defense. He lacks head movement, particularly side to side. He was pulling his head straight back against Robert Whitaker. Not a good idea against Park either. He throws a lot of teep kicks, though he doesn't check leg kicks himself. Another thing that's an issue going against Park. He'll throw some flying knees. He has a killer instinct, though. If he hurts you, he will find a way to put you out. He's a solid wrestler, good reactionary doubles, nice top control. He has a submission threat. Particularly, he loves Kimuras, which you don't see a lot in MMA anymore. He has good takedown defense. Yeah, he lost to Chimaev, and it was like forever ago. But before he got blasted by Chimaev, he was stopping takedowns with Chimaev, so which we haven't seen anybody else do. So he lost bad, but as you say, he didn't lose to bad people. Like he lost to the current champion and a former champion. One guy who'll be in the UFC Hall of Fame and the other guy who probably be in the UFC Hall of Fame. I think this fight is so good. I love Park. I mean, he's your classic overachiever. I give him a way better chance than the odds do of winning this fight. He just needs to get Aliskerov tired, and if he does, he'll take over. The longer the fight goes, the more I start liking Park. I love your pick of Park. I want to go consensus upset pick because of just how high I am Park. Unfortunately, Aliskerov is so clean. I think he lands big shots on the feet. I don't think he takes Park out. Because of how tough he is. I think he actually might get some takedowns if Park tries wrestling him. I think Park is going to survive an early surge from Aliskerov. I think he's going to be down 2 rounds. I think he's going to put a late surge. I think he's going to run out of time. I'm going to say Aliskerov wins by decision. If this was a 5-round fight, I'd probably take Park. I think he's built for 5-round fights. This isn't a 5-round fight. Give me Aliskerov. I'll take Aliskerov by decision in a very close fight.
Up next at UFC 321, and this was a last-minute addition to the card. I'm throwing it out there as the top prelim. I'm not sure that's where it'll stay, but it is Nasrat Haqparast versus Quillan Salkild. Haqparast, the 30-year-old Moroccan German, is 18-5 overall. He is 10-4 in the UFC. He's on a 5-fight win streak. You have to go all the way back to February of 2022, so almost 3 full years ago at this point for his last loss. He dropped a unanimous decision to Bobby Green. Since then, he has wins over John McDessie, Landon Quinones, Jamie Malarkey, Jared Gordon, and in his most recent outing back in March, Esteban Ribovics, whom he beat by split decision at UFC Fight Night Cup versus Almabayev. Haqparast will look to make it 6 in a row here, and even at lightweight, that's going to get you some serious attention. In order to do so, he's going to have to get past Quillan Salkeld. Salkeld, 25-year-old Australian, is 9-1 overall. He's 2-0 since joining the UFC out of season 8 of Dana White's Contender Series. And in fact, like his countryman Jack Della Maddalena, he lost his professional debut and is undefeated since then. He has already fought twice this year. He knocked out Anshul Jubli in 19 seconds in his UFC debut at UFC 312 back in February, then came back in June at UFC 316 and won a unanimous decision over Yanal Ashmouz, sorry. So he's looking for 3 in a row, 10 in a row overall. Haqparast looking for his 6th straight in the UFC. Again, a hell of a high stakes fight, especially to be added to this card on like 2 weeks notice. One of the closer fights by the eyeball test, one of the closest fights on the card on the books as well, as Haqparast is just barely your favorite, minus 125. Salkeld available just barely in the plus money at plus 105. Keith, Nasrat Haqparast, for a guy who is still just 30 years old, has quietly turned things around. He's a guy that always seemed talented, but just he was injured so often. He literally withdrew from as many fights as he fought across his first 3 years in the UFC. But all of a sudden, he's the guy that gets the call up to appear on short notice, and all of a sudden, he's winning a lot of fights in a row. Tell me who you think gets it done here, and if either of these guys is in the title picture 2 years from now, which one is it?
Title picture definitely Salkeld. Haqparast, you're right. He doesn't fight enough, but I do kind of feel like he doesn't have much more of a ceiling to go higher. Like he's kind of at his peak, but his peak's good. Like he's a good fighter. And Salkeld is a guy that I like a lot. He's looked really impressive so far. Haqparast, it's funny, the people constantly compare Haqparast to Kelvin Gastelum because they look so much. It's funny when I saw this fight get added, I compare them so much myself because they look like each other that I instantly thought of Kelvin Gastelum and was ready to start trashing him for like missing weight and shit. And I'm like, wait a minute, this is not the same guy. Some of that might be my old age kicking in, but so Haqparast, he's a southpaw. He's got good output on the feet. He's got some quick hands, definitely boxing style. He likes to be a counter striker, uses feints to draw out attacks well, and try to find openings when they throw strikes at him. He's explosive, really whips his punches. He's got a great left hand. Throws a lot of combinations. He can get wild sometimes and drawn into a slugfest. He has some power. He likes to get inside. He'll throw some uppercuts. He loves to close the distance and throw that like rear uppercut as the first punch, similar to like Junior Dos Santos does, similar to what we saw Danny Barlow doing the other night. It's a big power shot, but it's also is a risk. My issue is he tends to throw a combination and then stopping, almost like he fights at the same pace all the time, and he tends to even when he gets someone hurt, he resets himself instead of going in. He kind of tends to lack that killer instinct. He also, I've said this before, like I saw this in the Bobby Green fight. He doesn't adjust a game plan if it isn't working. I mean, he was getting dominated by Bobby Green, and he just kept winging the same counter left that wasn't landing. He wants to be the one pushing the action. That's why he hated the pressure from Jared Gordon. He isn't a bad wrestler, but the problem is he doesn't wrestle enough. When he wrestled John McDexie, I mean, it worked well for him. He has good takedown defense, but it isn't perfect. I mean, Alex Munoz took him down, Marcin Held, Dan Hooker. They all had success taking him up. That was a long time ago. He hasn't showed improved get-up game, and he has good cardio. I mean, different. Not that Kelvin Gastelum guessed out, but he won't slow down over 15 minutes. Salkeld, the thing that jumped out to me right away is he's only 25 years old, so I love that. Even though he doesn't look like it when you look at him, he looks like he's like 35. But he's a long and lanky fighter. He's a high output striker. He looked great against Yanal Ashmouz in his last fight. He works behind a good jab, follows with straight shots down the pike. I like his short right hand, good snap on his shots, showed great power against Anshul Jubilee. Big kicking game, hard kicks to the body. He adds kicks into his punching combinations, which I love. He does need to improve his defense. He stands a little too tall for my liking. He was cracked a bunch on the Dana White Contender Series. He's a good wrestler, though. He ragdoll Ashbush, which was surprising. He sets up his entries well with strikes. He's got some fast entries. He uses those long arms to get to his opponent's hips. Nice back takes. He's got 3 subs on his record. His cardio has been inconsistent. Sometimes I've seen him slow down. Sometimes it looks good. This is a tough fight to call because I kind of like both guys. I definitely think, to answer your question earlier, that Selkout has the much higher upside while Haqparast is more the finished product, more polished product. I keep jumping back for it. Do I go upside? Do I go polished? I favor Haqparast slightly on the feet while I favor Selkout slightly on the ground. If one makes big improvements from their last fight to this one, I think it'll be Selkout, even though he looks so good in that last fight. However, Haqparast has beaten the better guys, kind of how I feel the same with Wood, like kind of my tiebreaker. So I'm leaning that for Haqparast, but I think this fight's gonna be super close. I'll say Haqparast, but I'll say he wins by split decision.
I would love to disagree with you here. Like, it's always tempting to try to make myself look good by going with just the slight underdog and just hoping, but Haqparast had looked solid recently across this 5-fight win streak. He's fought a variety of different fighters with different approaches. He's managed to hang on and win in tough 3-round fights where his power didn't just kind of carry the day for him automatically. If at age 30, he's finally turned into a guy that just fights 2, maybe 3 times a year, it's going to be a fun next couple of years with Nasrat Haqparast. Having said that, I'm with you in that he has shown his ceiling. It's hard, even though he's about to go for his 6th straight win, it's hard for me to picture him stringing together enough wins to really make it into the title picture. I do think he beats Selkout here. I agree that Selkout has the advantage if it goes to the ground, especially if it goes to the ground in some sort of chaotic, scrambly situation where maybe one guy's hurt or they just collide and both go down off balance. Selkout is the guy that's more likely to come out of the cloud of dust on Haqparast's back already fishing for a choke or something like that. But I'm guessing that this one spends most of its time on the feet, and Haqparast just kind of cleaner boxing, forward movement, pressure, just give Selkout trouble. Haqparast has that kind of effortless power that just comes from being a naturally hard hitter with, solid technique. Give me Haqparast to win a decision here. Not a ton of confidence. As you mentioned, Selkout as the younger guy with the physical tools he has. If one of them has improved drastically between fights, it's probably Selkout, but I'll go with Haqparast by decision here as well. Up next at UFC 321, and at least as the card is constituted as of the beginning of fight week, the main card opener is a light heavyweight contest between Alexander Rakic and Azamat Murzakanov. Rakic, the 33-year-old Serbian fighting out of Austria, is 14-5 overall. He's 6-4 in the UFC. That's the good news. The bad news is that he is on a 3-fight losing streak, the first losing streak of any kind of his professional career. But in his case, it dates back basically 3 full years, as he has a loss to Jan Blachowicz back in early 2022 that was brought on by a late fight knee injury. That injury kept him on the shelf for 2 years. He returned last year, and they threw him right back into the deep end of the pool as he lost his next 2 fights to Yuri Prohaska and Magomed Ankalaev. So Rakic, on a streak of 3 straight losses against 3 of the last 4 champions in the division, gets not much of a break as he's taking on the undefeated Murzakanov. 36-year-old Russian fighting out in New Jersey is 15-0 as a professional. He's 5-0 since joining the UFC out of season 5 of Dana White's Contender Series. He's already fought once this year. He fought at UFC 316 back in June, where he hammered Brinjison Ribeiro into tapping the strikes in the first round. So Mirzakhanov looking for his 6th win to open his octagon run. Keith, I will quiz you on this one. Your favorite is -120, underdog +100. Who are they?
I'm gonna say Mirzakhanov is the favorite.
You are correct. Azamat Mirzakhanov, your slight favorite. Rakic, even money +100. It says a lot that Alexander Rakic is on a 3-fight losing streak and Azamat Mirzakhanov is on his entire career winning streak, and this one is still almost a pick'em. Having said that, if you showed the weigh-in photos that we're going to have on Friday to a non-MMA fan and said, which of these people is the world-class fighter who's probably overdue for a title shot, they're not going to pick the short, pudgy Russian. They're going to pick the chiseled Austrian Serb that just looks like a kickboxer from a movie. There are a number of reasons why Mirzakhanov has flown as under the radar as he has for, again, an undefeated guy. Most of the time, being an undefeated Russian makes you a lot of headway with the average UFC fan, with the UFC's matchmakers, but there are a number of issues. One, Mirzakhanov is not a very imposing guy by the eyeball test. He's like, again, a 5'11" light heavyweight who's balding and has a little bit of a spare tire. Like for those too young to remember Fedor Emelianenko, let alone Igor Vovchanchin, like, well, how could that guy be a world-class fighter? The other part is that he has struggled to get into the cage even twice a year. And if you're a regular of this show, you've heard me say this a million times. Most UFC divisions are like freeway traffic. Even if you win literally all your fights, if you only make it to the cage once a year, you're going to get passed by less perfect but more active fighters just swerving around you on the right and honking as they go. And then all the other reasons you would think of. Doesn't speak English. He has the personality of wallpaper paste. Yeah. And so does Rakic, but at least Rakic looks like a kickboxer from a movie. The real question to me is Alexander Rakic compromised by the severe knee injury against Jan Blachowicz? And that is hard to tell for me because he's fought twice since then. His fight against Yuri Prochazka, it seemed like he was able to move just fine. And frankly, it just turned into a Yuri Prochazka fight. And then his fight against Ankalaev, his most recent fight, which is basically a year ago at this point. When you take Rakic and Ankalaev, probably two of the more composed, strategic kickbox. I'm trying to think of nice ways to describe this, but basically they threw those two guys in the cage. If it had been a 5-round fight, it would probably still be going on now. Like that fight was so bad that it altered the flow of time. Because of that, I still don't know if Rakic is capable of the kind of wins he was getting in, say, 2020. Like, Rakic used to be a guy who knew exactly what his tools were. He's like, I'm one of the biggest guys in the division. I'm a solid fundamental kickboxer. I have very good kicks. I have very, very good leg kicks. If I could just force an outfight, I can just chew up my opponents. And a little bit like Ankalaev, like, I am happy to just win a 30-27 decision, but if the guy, makes any big mistakes on defense or comes running at me heedlessly, I will knock him out. Like, he knocked out his knockout of Jimmy Mano was one of the nastiest knockouts in the history of that division. Like, Rakic could continue to make that game work, even if he's slowed a little bit by the rehab from the knee injury, because it never really required him to be a fast twitch freak. He didn't have to be Yuri Prochazka or Johnny Walker to make that work. Mirzakhanov is going to test it. Like, the way Mirzakhanov looks kind of invites people to underestimate him. Like, again, he's one of the shorter guys in the division. He's not jacked. He's 36 and looks it, but he is quietly one of the most dangerous strikers in the division. It's really impressive. Like, he has quicker hands and feet than you would expect, but just without ever really ramping up his output or anything. He just sort of gets his opponent dialed in, and then all of a sudden in the middle of the fight, they're barely able to lay a finger on him, even if they have like 6 inches of reach on him, and he's just plunking them straight in the face with clean counters. There's the possibility that I'm writing Rakic off too early based on losing 3 straight fights to, again, not even top 5, but like top 2 fighters at the time he fought them. But I think it's Mirzakhanov's time. Like he's fighting so well right now. So few of his opponents are even really having moments of success against him. I have the feeling that it'll be a slow-paced first round, or at least first couple minutes of the first round. Mirzakhanov, again, is going to be dealing with a guy out of the opposite stance of his that likes to kick a lot. He's going to be wary to start off, but I think Rakic is not going, like, the further they go, the more Mirzakhanov is going to find ways to get in close against Rakic, land punches on him, kind of get inside the range of his kicks, so he's not getting just like the full impact of shin on his like gut or on his own shins. I think Mirzakhanov probably gets a second round TKO here, and I think the whole thing is just going to feel as inevitable as the sunrise. It'll be slow paced, kind of tense, like a lot of, again, opposite stance striking battles are early, but Mirzakhanov will really start turning things up late in the first round, gets a knockout in the second.
Yeah, this is an intriguing matchup. Obviously, for Rakic, he's been in these situations a lot, but Mirzakhanov, this is like kind of his big chance to kind of make a show that he's this level of guy. Rakic, he's a solid striker. He's definitely technically sound. He fights out of both stances. He likes to work for space. He has this wide open stance where he leads his, he puts his lead hand way out there, kind of to gauge distance. His other hand is cocked and ready to explode. This helps him measure his opponent. He also uses it as like an up jab. He's a southpaw, so he throws a lot of hard kicks to his orthodox opponent's midsection. He pulls his opponents into his shots by backing up and then using his footwork and then stopping on a dime and trying to landing. For a high level light heavyweight, he isn't the hardest hitter. He does have good calf kicks. We saw that against Anthony Smith. He was beating Yuri Prochazka with calf kicks before he got blasted, like what Yuri does. He played too much with fire by trying to hold his ground and slug him with Prochazka, which was stupid. He should have used his movement. He's not a terrible offensive wrestler, but he doesn't really wrestle much. He abandoned his wrestling against Anthony Smith. That's probably somewhere he had a huge advantage over. He is a solid grappler, though he only has 1 submission on his record. And you have to worry about his chin. I mean, it was a long time ago when he got knocked out by Prochazka, but, those kind of knockouts can change your career. Mirzakhanov, he's a very good athlete. Southpaw, good movement, cuts angles really well. He's, like you said, his body doesn't look like it, but he's a technical striker. He does need to increase his output, though. He'll throw way too many single blows for my liking. He tends to be a little bit Yoel Romero, where he waits, and then he bursts forward with an attack. But when he does, he has Chris Barkson. His striking looks really good against Alonzo Menafield. Accurate. He gets in the pocket. He throws hard. He was hurting Dustin Kobe with a lot of hooks. His left hook is definitely his best blow. He can just look for it too much. He'll just keep throwing it over and over again sometimes, kind of being predictable. He works the body, doesn't throw a lot of kicks. I do love his step-in knees, though. And you mentioned his power. He's got really big power. I mean, he's got 11 of his 15 wins are all by way of knockout. He's got 8 in the very first round. He is a good wrestler. Not much of a submission threat. He only has 1 submission on his record. And cardio is a bit of an issue. I mean, he gassed late against Dustin Jacoby. So Rakic is bigger. He's longer. He's more technical. If he can keep the distance and move, I think he'll do well. Problem is, I don't think he can. I think Mirzakhanov is going to have his the biggest win of his career. I think it's going to be like a little bit of his coming out party, which is kind of crazy being his age and how many times already fought in the UFC and stuff. But I think he closes the distance. I think he lands a bomb on Rakic. I think it's going to be a spectacular moment. I think I'm a little worried that Rakic might be really declining. I say Murzakanov starches him. I say this in the very first round. Give me Murzakanov a first round TKO.
Heavyweights are up next on the UFC 321 main card as Alexander Volkov takes on Jailton Almeida. Volkov, the 36-year-old Russian, though he will be 37 by the time he walks into the cage. He'll have his birthday this week. He is 38-11 overall. He is 12-5 since joining the UFC as the former heavyweight champ in Bellator as well as M1. He is coming in off a loss, though we'll talk more about that in a moment. He fought most recently last December at UFC 310, where he dropped a split decision to Ciryl Gane, who appears in Saturday's main event. That snapped a 4-fight win streak for Volkov since his loss in 2022 to the other half of Saturday's main event, Tom Aspinall. So Volkov looking to get back into the win column, looking to prove that, especially at heavyweight, where 37 is not necessarily old, he's still a threat to add a UFC title to the ones he already has on his mantelpiece. In order to do any of those things, he is going to have to slow the heavyweight rise of Almeida. 34-year-old Brazilian is 22-3 overall. He is 8-1 since joining the UFC out of season 5 of Dana White's Contender Series. He's on a 2-fight win streak since getting knocked out in the second round against Curtis Blades 18 months ago. He has first round wins over Alexander Romanov and Sergey Spivak. The most recent of those, the Spivak fight, was back in January at UFC 311, and he pounded him out late in the first round. Almeida looking for his third straight win here. Both these gentlemen definitely close to the title picture. This absolutely is a fight that was booked, at least in part, to have backup fighters on hand in case anything were to happen to either of the main event participants. The odds favor the relative newcomer to the division. Almeida is minus 200. Volkov is plus 170. Veteran viewers of this show know that my tendency is to flip fights to Keith to analyze first, unless one of two things is the case. It's a fighter that I know a lot about for some reason, or I'm picking the upset and I want to jump on it before Keith steals my thunder. I'm doing both. Spoiler out of the way, I'm taking Volkov to win this one, and I'm about to explain why. One, let's start with Volkov should absolutely be on a 5-fight win streak right here. His loss to Ciryl Gane was a bad decision.
Yeah, he should be fighting for the title.
Yeah, he should, like, honestly, he should be the guy fighting for the title.
Yeah. I agree.
In this main event. Having said that, there are a lot of moving parts here. If the UFC's best alternative was Aspinall versus Volkov this weekend, they might still be in negotiations with John Jones. Like, it's just, Gane is more sellable as a fight with Aspinall, especially considering that Aspinall already destroyed Volkov once. So, I mean, that works out as it does, but the thing is, like, Volkov, he probably should have beaten Gane. He probably should be, well, for one, that would make him 1-1 with Gane, and yeah, it would put him on a 5-fight win streak. Most of them against top 10 type fighters. I'm still not a full believer in Jailton Almeida at heavyweight. He still seems like an athlete, an absolute physical hoss, but when that hasn't been enough, like, win or lose, like, he's struggled a bit. He's a guy, he's only lost once in the UFC, but he's had some wins that did not raise his stock. Like, he absolutely washed Derek Lewis on the ground. Like, I mean, he took him down easily over and over and over again. And that was it. Like, people were booing the shit out of that fight. It was lousy. Like, Almeida's wrestling is still more effective than technical. And among the many things that Volkov has improved over his long career, takedown defense and ability to get back up are among the biggest ones. Like, if you look back at Volkov, especially before he got to the UFC, you look at him and I like to throw out the trivia note that he was the Bellator heavyweight champ, but it was back when Bellator's heavyweight division was absolutely terrible. And once he actually fought a top 10 heavyweight at the time, like Vitaly Minakov, like wrecked him.
Yeah. When was it good though?
It was
Better. Like, okay.
But you look at Volkov at the time, and he was kind of a beanpole and very easy to take down, easy to kind of muscle and move in the clinch and just, either get shoved back against the fence or just, flat out taken down. He has changed a lot since then. First thing he's changed is his body. He's put on about 20 pounds of muscle since he's been in the UFC. Like, he's always going to be a tall, lanky heavyweight. He might be the only fighter in the UFC. It's certainly the only heavyweight in the UFC where I always think they're underestimating his height. It's like the opposite of the professional wrestling thing where the build height of a wrestler is always like bigger than the guy actually is. I feel like Volkov is like a 7-foot guy, and they're just saying he's 6'7", so he can eat for cheaper at Golden Corral or ride certain rides at the amusement park. I have no idea why.
I did a guy that was like 9 feet tall, but he was.
Well, he's a perfect example. They built him at 7'4", and in real life he was like 6'11". He was still a giant fucking dude, but
pretty tall.
Yeah, that's still pretty tall. But yeah, I mean, Volkov used to be built like a giant Dwayne Ludwig, where he was just kind of this skinny guy with like a bird chest, only he was like, 7 feet tall. He's a bigger dude. Like, he has big, thick legs now. It's physics. He literally has a lower center of gravity. He can still be taken down, but I'm going to throw out a stat, and I normally don't ride with stats because they can be deceptive. Like, you doubt the stats, trust the tape. Because if you go by stats, the example I like to come back to is if you went by stats, you would have looked at Renato Moicano a couple years ago when he had like 11 career subs and 0 TKOs and assume he was a bad striker. And that was never the case. He was a good striker. He actually had decent power. Just his thing would be he'd hurt people and then jump on them and sub them. With Volkov, this is a pretty telling stat. He's 12-5 in the UFC. When he doesn't get taken down, he is extremely difficult to beat. I mean, the ultimate example of that I'll talk about later. It's Cyril Gane, but Volkov, like, he's a hard guy to outstrike on the feet. He's one of the few heavyweights, like one of the few tall heavyweights that actually fights a good tall man's game. He knows that as, again, a super tall guy that has long legs, even for his height, he's always going to be vulnerable to takedowns. So he has an innate understanding of the fact that takedown defense starts with punishing people on the way in. Like, it not only stops that takedown, it maybe stops the next one too. He's just gotten good with knees on people on the way in. The combination of Volkov's kind of steady improvements over the years, the fact that he's going to have reach and just be a cleaner technical striker than Almeida, and the fact that Almeida could take him down and the fight not be over, all make me lean towards Volkov in this one. Like, he's a pretty big underdog. Almeida's a 2-1 favorite, but I think Volkov gets a decision here. I could see Almeida taking him down in the first round, winning the first round, no question. But they're going to start back on the feet second round. They're going to start back on the feet the third round. Volkov is going to be kicking at Almeida's legs. He's going to be meeting him with nice long jabs. He's going to meet him with his cross, uppercuts and knees when he tries to close the distance. As big and powerful and explosive and fast as Almeida is, like, his takedown entries are still pretty basic. He still tends to finish with raw horsepower rather than like, running the pipe, chaining a double into a single. Just, again, he gets his takedowns kind of like a giant Jacare is the comparison I made before. So give me Volkov in the upset here. I say Volkov wins a decision, probably by winning the second and third rounds. And then says a few choice things on the mic and positions himself maybe for a rematch with one of the main event participants.
Well, he won't get a main event if Cyril Gane wins.
No,
because Suddenly John Joseph comes back. Suddenly he strikes a deal with the UFC and he doesn't want to retire anymore. He's ready for one more fight. I'm surprised that Almeida is as big a favorite as he is. I'm not surprised that he's the favorite like that, but as big a favorite. I mean, Volkov's good and he's looked really good recently. Obviously, you mentioned that he's nearly 7 feet tall. I mean, he's obviously a huge heavyweight, but he's not like skin and bones. I mean, he's added muscle. He looks stronger than he looks. He looks sensational against Sergey Pavlovich in their fight. He's a good striker. He's a controlled pressure striker. He's technically sound. He works that nice, clean jab. He keeps his opponents at bay with just strong, long, straight shots. He has good footwork to keep his range to stop his opponents from getting inside. Just touches and then unloads power shots when there's an opening, but he doesn't really have to unload power shots because obviously he's so big. He's got, he obviously has power just being as big as he is. He's accurate. He hits harder than people think. I like his T kicks up the middle. He also has those like Holly Holmes side kicks. His long legs are a big target. I mean, Tai Tuivasa chewed up his legs kicking it, but that was a long time ago. He has a solid chin. I mean, only Derek Lewis has been able to really hurt him on the feet. We might disagree slightly on the ground. I definitely think he has improved dramatically on the ground. I still think that's an area of struggle for him. I know Curtis Blades, you go to the Curtis Blades fight, that would make him look like he was an amateur. He was taken out 14 times in 5 rounds, but that was a very long time ago. What concerns me in a fight, I totally agree that I thought he beat Sorogan, and Sorogan still took him down twice, 2 or 3 times. That's concerning.
Yeah.
And the Tom Aspinall fight wasn't that long ago, and he was absolutely smoked on the ground by Tom Aspinall.
Yeah.
But he did show some slick ground game against Tai Tuivasa, if you want to give him credit for that. Almeida, he's a massive dude, especially for a guy who used to be a light heavyweight. Not massive in the sense of Volkov, but he's got long arms and legs. They always talk about his 79-inch reach. His striking has improved, but has way more area of growth. Obviously, due to his size, he has power. We saw his punching power against Sergey Spivak. That's not something we expected to see, but he did hurt Sergey Spivak on the feet. He throws a lot of kicks because he wants you to grab his legs. He doesn't care about that. He likes teep kicks. He has some hard calf kicks. He wants to grapple anyway, so go ahead, grab his legs. He's a good wrestler, nice entries. Sometimes he'll shoot without a setup. Though he lost, I was very impressed that he got takedowns against Curtis Blades. He slammed Shamil Abdul-Kareem, which is impressive. He's got a very good top game. Slowly works inch by inch, looking to secure a position, advances to a better position. That said, if he can't get to that better position, he has no issue with stalling on top. He don't care. I mean, perfect example is the Derek Lewis fight. He backpacked him and was not doing much at all. He has good mat returns though. We've seen that before. He's got some good back takes. He got 13 subs on his record. He can get subs off his back, though he does play BJJ too long on his back, and I wouldn't want to be underneath Volkov if I was him. But though he has gotten a lot of sweeps, he landed some brutal ground and pound against Daniel Marquez and Jardina Rostrike, both a while ago. So I'm like I said, I was surprised that Almeida is this big of a favorite. I wasn't sure who the favorite was going to be. So I'm glad that you picked Volkov because I have flip-flopped back and forth on this one. I can see avenue victories for both. I'm very intrigued. The winner, like you said, is likely getting the next title shot, especially if Almeida wins, because he's like, the new, fresher face.
Yeah.
I can see Volkov working Almeida from distance, just jabbing him, keep kicking him, getting pressed against the cage, but like just keeping his legs super wide, not getting Almeida to be able to lock his hand, take him down. I could also see Almeida just closing distance, getting takedowns on Volkov and doing what he does. Man, it's like it just comes down to how much has Volkov's takedown defense improved. And it's like, obviously that's so, kind of a lazy analysis, But it's true. If he can stop takedowns, then he should have his way on the feet. Even though I think Almeida has improved his striking. Problem is if Gon can take him down, I expect Almeida to be able to do the same. Once he gets on top, I expect him to stall it out. I think he's on top for at least 2 rounds, and that gives him a victory. If this was 5 rounds, I'd feel much better about taking Volkov. But Almeida really needs 2 takedowns. Give me Almeida by decision.
Third from the top at UFC 321 is a high-level bantamweight contenders fight between Umar Nurmagomedov and Mario Bautista. Nurmagomedov, the 29-year-old Dagestani, is 18-1 overall. He is 6-1 in the UFC. That's the good news. The bad news is, of course, the one loss is in his most recent cage appearance when he challenged Merab Dvalishvili for the UFC men's bantamweight title at UFC 311 back in January. He was competitive early, but came out on the wrong end of a unanimous decision after 5 rounds with the frenetic nightmare of a Georgian. So he needs to bounce back from that. He's back in the cage 9 months later, and in steps a man on a pretty long win streak of his own in the form of Bautista. 32-year-old Arizonan is 16-2 overall. He's 10-2 in the UFC. He is on an 8-fight win streak since getting kind of one-shotted by Trevin Jones almost 5 years ago at this point. He's already fought once this year. He welcomed Patchy Mix to the UFC back in June. That was at UFC 316, and he frankly kind of schooled the former Bellator champ on the feet, stayed on the feet. Ruined the UFC arrival of Patchy Mix. And now, if he can get past the most recent title challenger, he might stamp his own ticket to a shot at gold. He is not favored to get it done. Keith made a guess during the intro, but Umar Nurmagomedov is the biggest favorite on this card. The man is coming in at minus 600. Mario Bautista plus 425.
Damn. So the guy coming off the biggest win versus the guy coming off the biggest loss of his career. And okay.
Yep.
I can't understand Vegas lines, but
neither can I. Obviously, just having the last name Nurmagomedov carries a lot of weight with people. And for what it's worth, yeah, he and his brother Usman, who is competing in PFL right now, they're brothers, and they are actual first cousins of Khabib Nurmagomedov. So it's not.
Understands.
Yeah, the Dagestan is a country of 4 million people. It has about 3 last names and it has 1 haircut. But these 2 guys are actual first cousins of Khabib Nurmagomedov. That carries some weight, but yeah, I'm at a loss as well as you are. Tell me how you think this fight plays out. Oh, tell me who you think the UFC hopes wins, and then tell me who you think wins.
Oh, definitely Nurmagomedov. I don't think that's even like a tough question. Obviously, the name Nurmagomedov, he's not bad at a mic. They give one of the better ones for a Dagestani. And, he was able to hype up the Merab fight. He had moments against Merab. So that I think that's, I still think he's probably the biggest threat to Merab. And then Batista's he's not good on the mic. He's not good. He's not entertaining. Though I don't think he's boring, but a lot of people think he's a boring fighter. But so Nurmagomedov, I mean, he's a really good athlete. He can move really well. He's elusive. He avoids strikes by just not being there. That's his number one thing. He switches stance a lot. He evades stacks with his really good footwork. He has that Taekwondo style striking, so he's very bladed, but he has underrated boxing. I like his hand speed. He's got fast hands. He switches stances in mid combination. He has more power than he gets credited with. I mean, he's a better striker than he gets credited with. I mean, most people they think about his wrestling. He's a very good kicker. Kicks to all areas of the body. He's an incredible wrestler. I mean, his entries are blazing fast. Sets up his entries so well with his strikes. He'll throw a jab and then follow into his entry. He hit Nate Maness with one of the sweetest body lock inside trip takedowns you'll see. He has incredible takedown defense. I mean, sure, Merab took him down, but Merab got takedowns. First of all, Merab got takedowns on everyone, so I can give him that. But he had takedowns on Umar because Umar got tired out, not because he was shooting these wonderful takedowns against Umar. If anything, Umar was winning the wrestling in the fight early. He hit Merab with a butt drag to avoid takedowns, which I thought was super impressive to be able to butt drag Merab. And if you don't know what a butt drag is, just look it up on many YouTube videos. He's got great top control. He cuts through his opponent's guards super easily. Good ground and pound. He is a submission artist. He has 7 subs on his record. I think some people are questioning his gas tank, but he gassed against Merab. I can't see him.
He didn't gas after 7 minutes against Merab either.
No, that's true.
He gassed after 17 minutes.
That's true. That's a good point. Like Merab was winning, but it was close, and then he pulled away, and then he still had moments late in the fight where other guys had just completely wilted. So, and then just go back to like his fight against Corey Sandhagen and see, if he can't go hard. Not to mention this only 15-minute fight. Yeah. Mario Bautista, on the other hand, he got so much hate for the Aldo fight, but he looked great against Patchy Mix. Though, in fairness, that win hasn't aged as well as it did. At least it seemed like when he fought Patchy. He's constantly moving, constantly working. He's a bit of a pressure striker. At times, he's appeared fearless, just moving forward and not worried about being hit. That has changed as he's got higher up the charts, up the rankings, I should say. And I think some of that just being more intelligent. Obviously, the threat is much bigger as you move up, but good output on the feet. He's technically sound, a lot of feints, a lot of footwork to keep his distance, cuts angles well with great footwork. His feints are good. I always go back to like the Brian Keller fight. He was just freezing Keller, had Keller guessing all over the place with his feints. Fast hands. He got a good straight right hand. He slips and then looks for uppercuts up close. He beat Patchy Mix up to the body. I'd say it's plus power in his hands. He's not known for just knocking out with one blow. Nice stepping knees, huge kicking game, some hard calf kicks. Though he has at times abandoned his calf kicks. Like one example is Ricky Simone fight. He didn't kick the legs. He works so well in the clinch. I mean, people get bored with his fight against Jose Aldo, and I understand why. But Jose Aldo had no answer for him inside the clinch. And even aged Jose Aldo is a very tough person to beat, no matter how you do it. Yeah. So I think that's impressive. He's a good wrestler. I mean, hit Brian Keller with this incredible foot sweep. He suplexed Guido Canetti. Good at winning scrambles, good top game. He's got 6 subs on his record. His takedown defense is still a question mark to me. It wasn't a great against Damon Blackshear and Ricky Simone, but it was much improved against Patchy Mix. I think Bautista is so underrated, but I still think Nurmagomedov will be a problem here. Do I think Nurmagomedov should be the biggest favorite on the card? No. Like I guess Aspinall. Not that I'm saying that's my pick or just the hype. The guy who's the big challenger for John Jones, the one guy that people think could beat John Jones. So more than a buzz than a style. If you had me keep guessing, I don't know how far I get to before I pick Nurmagomedov. And it's not a dog in Nurmagomedov. It's just Bautista's good. Like, this isn't a hard fight. The problem is what Nurmagomedov can do, I think, gives Bautista problems. One, I think Bautista might abandon kicks because Nurmagomedov might take him down if he kicks. I also think he's going to have to avoid the clinch with Umar. So take away his kicks and his clinch. That limits so much what he can do. I expect Umar, on the other hand, to be kicking a lot. I expect him to land some takedowns. Give me Nurmagomedov. I'll say Bautista's tough, but I'll say Nurmagomedov by decision.
Yeah, I was a bit shocked by the line myself, but I kind of thought, okay, if I were a betting man, where would the line have to move to before I said, okay, that's not a good value? And I'd still have to install Nurmagomedov at like minus 300 or minus 350 because of the style matchup. Like, Bautista absolutely deserves to be here. And I think at least part of the reason that people either think he's boring or just seem not to like him for whatever reason is it's 4 fights in a row now where he's beaten a guy that was expected to do something exciting. Like between Blackshear, Ricky Simone, Jose Aldo, and Patchy Mix in Mix's UFC debut. Like 4 straight times, he's just kind of nullified people that are just known for doing wild stuff. He's just quietly a very effective technical striker. And if this fight if there were some sort of backstage gentleman's agreement that nobody takes this to the ground, I think it's a pretty closely matched fight. Without the threat of the takedown, I think this would play out very evenly. Unfortunately, it's mixed martial arts, and Nurmagomedov, one, has a safety outlet if he gets anything he doesn't like on the feet for Bautista, when the inverse is not true. And then, as you mentioned, just the knowledge of Nurmagomedov's takedown game is going to blunt some of the things that Bautista does well on the feet. You mentioned specifically the kicks, and starting with establishing the low kick early. Kicks are a lot of what make Bautista's game go. And then the fact that he is usually the problem in the clinch for the other fighter, and that won't necessarily be the case here. So I'm with you. I think Nurmagomedov wins this one, given that Nurmagomedov is, I mean, obviously he's a confident guy, but he also knows that if he loses 2 in a row, it takes him much farther out of the title picture than he is now. Like, he gets a mulligan for fighting a competitive 5-round fight with Merab, but if he loses to Bautista, Bautista is just literally taking his place in line right now. Because of that, I expect Nurmagomedov to probably win all 3 rounds, but it's going to be fought at a pace that both guys are comfortable with. I think Nurmagomedov wins all 3 rounds. He probably does take Bautista down numerous times. Bautista can take care of himself down there, but he's definitely not winning this fight off his back. He's defending himself and looking for tiny openings to get back to his feet. Yeah, I think Nurmagomedov wins a pretty straightforward fight here, probably wins all 3 rounds, and then, yeah, we'll just need to see what it'll take for him to be the next guy again at men's bantamweight. That brings us to the co-main event of UFC 321, a 5-round scheduled fight for the vacant strawweight title between Virna Jandiroba and Mackenzie Dern. Jandiroba, the 37-year-old Brazilian, is 22-3 overall. She is 8-3 since joining the UFC as the outgoing Invicta strawweight champ. She is on a 5-fight win streak. Since losing a decision to Amanda Ribas almost exactly 4 years ago, she has rattled off 5 straight wins over Angela Hill, Marina Rodriguez, Lupi Godinez, Amanda Lemos, and Yan Xiaonan. The most recent of those, the Yan fight, was at UFC 314 in April. Since then, Zhang Weili has vacated the title, stated her intention to move up and challenge for the flyweight title. That leaves this belt vacant, and Jandiroba is one half of the fight to determine who's going to wear the belt against a familiar face in the form of Dern. 32-year-old Arizonan with a funny accent is 15-5 overall. She is 10-5 since joining the UFC out of LFA and Invicta, among other promotions. She is on a 2-fight win streak. Since dropping a unanimous decision to Amanda Lemos last February, she has wins over Godinez and Ribas. The most recent of those, the Ribas fight, was back in June in the headliner of UFC Fight Night 249. She armbarred Ribas late in the 3rd round, avenging her first career loss in the process and positioning herself to fight for this vacant belt. We'll talk about their first meeting, I'm sure, extensively here, but they met almost exactly 6 years ago. It was October of 2019. It was almost exactly 4 years ago. It was December of 2020, and Dern won a unanimous decision in that fight. Perhaps reflecting that result, she is the mild to moderate favorite here. Dern is minus 170, Jandiroba plus 140. Obviously, my tape study for this fight began with rewatching their first fight. And their first fight happened since the Shill and Duffy show existed. Like, we previewed this fight before it happened. We recapped it after it happened. What I should have done is rewatch our recap and hear what you and I said in the moment, like, yeah. Hot off the presses.
Yeah, we need the clips.
Yeah. Rewatching it now, I remembered it being a competitive fight, but It's a fight that it was razor close. It could literally have gone to Jandiroba. It was 1 round apiece going into the 3rd round. The 3rd round was the obvious swing round. That round was extremely close, and Jandiroba probably won the first 3.5 minutes of the round, and then Dern turned things around and really won the last 90 seconds of the round. So it's kind of how you weigh those things. Like, it was not a robbery by any chance or by any stretch of the imagination, but it also wasn't a fight that made me go, okay, if these women fight 10 times, Dern's winning 9 out of 10. Like, it was a very competitive fight. Both women have made some adjustments since then. Like, Jandiroba is not a reinvented fighter since then. She's just kind of, refined and putted along and been the same underratedly outstanding strawweight that she's been all along. The comparison I've made with her numerous times, probably every time she's fought in the UFC, is female strawweight Rafael dos Anjos, where, yeah, she is a submission artist, a ground fighter, a jiu-jitsu practitioner by training and by preference and by inclination, but specifically, she prefers to be the one on offense, the wrestler, the one initiating takedowns, the one settling in top position. She's a top position mauler and bully, and her ceiling basically comes, kind of like Rafael dos Anjos, by not being very big for the division. So if she runs into people that she really has trouble pushing around, that's when she struggles. And if you look at her losses in the UFC, that's basically where they've come. She's not been completely out of her depth in any of her UFC losses, but Carla Esparza was, especially at the time they fought, the best wrestler in the division. Mackenzie Dern is Mackenzie Dern, and we'll talk about her in a minute. And then Amanda Ribas, while she can be inconsistent and she never really turned the corner into being like the perennial, like, title contender type fighter she looked like she might be, she's a big, strong, like, lifelong judoka that's really hard for other women to push around. Everyone else, Jandiroba has made her thing go. Good takedowns, underratedly mean ground and pound. I mean, just ask Mizuki, who fights in the opener of this card. She has a lot of submissions, and she gets her submissions without really risking herself. Again, it's the Rafael dos Anjos thing, where it's just like watching a python swallow a goat. She, like, just lands little elbows and punches, slowly moves to, side control or mount, or pounds them until they turn their back. And when she can close things out without really risking losing her position, that's when she does it. The reason that ran her into trouble against Dern is, well, a couple reasons. Dern's younger. While Dern isn't much of an athlete, she's naturally bigger than Jandiroba, and obviously Dern is one of the more decorated jiu-jitsu practitioners ever to cross over into MMA. The thing that has really changed for Dern since around the time of their first meeting is Dern is that rarest of animals that having a kid made her better at losing weight. I don't know how she made that happen, but she went from one of the worst weight offenders, in the UFC, to somebody who's had never had a problem with it again.
It might be age. It might be more age, maturity.
Mental maturity, absolutely. Because, I mean, again, she might be a freak, but speaking for myself, losing weight did not get easier between age 22 and age 32. But no, it's commitment to her craft. Absolutely. I would have assumed that if she was still in the UFC in October of 2025, it would be at flyweight, and she'd be about 500 in the UFC and kept around mostly because she's marketable. And none of those things are true. Like, she's fighting as well as she ever has, and weight has never been a problem again. I mean, who knows? Maybe she was carrying that baby for like 10 years, and that's just what she needed to do, was get rid of it. She's still not much of an athlete. She's still a willing striker and actually has pretty good power when she connects, but her combinations are basic. Her footwork is poor. Her hand speed is not good, and she's still defensively porous. And while she's not the worst offensive wrestler in the UFC anymore, like worst offensive wrestler of people who actually need the fight on the ground, she's still like my gold standard, just the person I use as a touchstone when I describe somebody that's a lousy wrestler. Because she, even now, after like 12 years in the game and being in the title picture for a lot of that time, she will still just bend at the waist and run straight at her opponent sometimes. It's still not great. I know that Dern won the first fight. Again, it was even closer than I remembered. I'm leaning the other way this time. I think it's going to be another razor close fight. But again, the first fight was razor close, and about a quarter of the media people watching it actually scored it for Jandiroba. Here, I wouldn't be surprised if this kind of turns into one of those K1 Shields, K1 Hughes type fights where it's two ground fighters. And because of that, we end up with kind of a mediocre striking match for a lot of it. If it goes to the ground, as good as Dern is, and again, Dern is, one of the best jiu-jitsu practitioners of her era. The only reason she's not on the Mount Rushmore alongside like Bia Mesquita and, Michelle Nicolini is that she crossed over to MMA in her early 20s instead of her 30s. Even that being the case, as Keith is fond of pointing out, Keith will just shorten it into jiu-jitsu doesn't work, which is why everyone in the comments gets mad at him. But if I may be the Keith Schillen translator for a minute, what he really means is that trying to launch submission offense off your back against MMA fighters in the 2020s, unless you're Charles Oliveira, is just not a plausible route to victory for most people.
Yeah, it's right.
Because of that, Dern's best routes to victory are eking out close rounds on the feet by hitting Jandiroba harder, or trying to get things onto the ground with Dern on top. Because, if Jandiroba spends time parked in Dern's guard, I think those rounds are going to go to Jandiroba. Give me a fight that looks a bit like the first one, maybe a little more time spent on the feet. Give me Jandiroba to be the one that gets her hand raised, winning 2 rounds out of 3 here. All right, sorry, winning 3 rounds out of 5 here. Yeah, 5-round fight, but yeah.
Yeah, it's funny, this fight. For a title fight, this is one of the least interested title fights I've been in a long time. And I think it has to do with what you said. I think we're going to get a shitty kickboxing match then instead of a fun scramble between 2 of the greatest female grapplers of all time. If you could tell me that we're going to get, even that first fight was mostly on the feet. Jandiroba got 1 takedown, but a lot of it was a shitty kickboxing match. Not a lot of it, but a portion of it, I should say. Dern,
it wasn't Sakuraba versus Newton.
Yeah. Dern, to her credit, I think she has made major improvements in her striking, even from that point till now. Mm-hmm. But she still isn't a striker. She's had moments improvement, but her lack of overall athleticism still holds her back. I used to say she had slow hands, but her hands did look better against Lupe Godinez. She doesn't pack much power, though. Her striking defense still needs a lot of improvement. She doesn't tuck her chin. She pulls her head straight back. She's tough as hell, though. She'll eat massive shots and not quit. Jessica Andrade teed off on her, and she still showed her toughness. Obviously, she wants to get to the fight of the ground. The problem is she's just an okay wrestler. She didn't take Jandiroba down in the first fight. She will shoot for takedowns, but she'll do it without a setup. She tries to just grab a single and run the pipe, but she's not very good at it. Now, if she gets it down, she's an absolute wizard. She's this decorative grappler we've seen. The accolades, 5-time world champion, all that stuff. If she gets the fight to the ground, she's got some other top control. She's got some of the possibly the best back takes in women's MMA. She can get a submission anywhere. She's got great flexibility, so she can get submissions in weird positions. When I say she can get a submission, anyone, including she could sub Verna Jandiroba. She sub girls that level. And you know how high I think of Verna's grappling. Mm-hmm. She's a weak defensive wrestler, but that's because she doesn't really care about getting taken down because she can sweep off her back or she can just get submissions off her back. Now, Verna is interesting because she's such a one-dimensional fighter, but she just keeps winning. Her striking is very poor for a title contender. She doesn't have the best volume. She throws a lot of single strikes. She doesn't have much power at all. She tends to telegraph her power shots by loading up. Her threat of wrestling does open up opportunities for her, but still her striking is to mostly just set up her entries. She's not your traditional wrestler, but she is good at wrestling. She's got good entries. She's good at just getting takedowns to win rounds. Sometimes she will just bull rush her opponent to get him to the cage. And if she's more of a topside grappler than an overall grappler. Where Dern is, I don't think she's if Dern took her down, I don't think she'd be a big threat off her back, like Dern can be off her back. But she's still obviously, I'm not dogging her grappling is super slick. From the top position, she inches to a better position, doesn't really rush sub attempts. Obviously, is a massive submission artist. I would be very surprised if she subbed Dern, unless she hurt her with ground and pound and then locked in the sub, so it's like she was rocked. But straight take her down and lock in. A head and arm choke or something like that. I don't see that happen. Like I said, I really want this to be a grappling matchup. I think Vernon has the advantage on top. I could see Dern sweeping Werner or even catching her a sub from the bottom. I don't give it a huge chance. I expect more or maybe a sweep than catching a sub, but I think on the feet, I favor Dern slightly. And I think we're going to get a shitty kickboxing match. So I think Dern's going to beat up Werner for 15 minutes. Obviously, we both did it for 25 minutes. Yeah. And
we're both just hoping it's only 15 minutes.
Yeah. I'm going to say, saying the new UFC champion is Vernon Generova. I'm going to say Mackenzie Dern goes 2-0 against Werner. I'm going to say Mackenzie Dern wins the UFC gold. I'll say she does it by unanimous decision.
With that, we come to the main event of UFC 321. A fight for the heavyweight title between interim, now undisputed champ Tom Aspinall and title challenger, former interim champ Ciryl Gane. Aspinall, the 32-year-old from Manchester, 15-3 overall, 7-1 in the UFC. Since his 15-second non-contact injury TKO loss to Curtis Blades 2.5 years ago, he has 3 straight first-round wins over Marcin Tybura, Sergey Pavlovich, and Curtis Blades. The most recent of those, the Blades fight, was last July at UFC 304, where he hammered him in 60 seconds. So Aspinall chased the fight with John Jones for literally over a year. Finally, that's no longer a thing. He is your undisputed champ, and his first title defense will be against Gane. 35-year-old Frenchman is 13-2. He is 10-2 in the UFC. He is on a 2-fight win streak since his loss to Jones 2.5 years ago. He came back in September of 2023, knocked out Sergey Spivak in the second round, and then last December picked up a contentious split decision over Alexander Volkov. That was at UFC 310. It is almost a year later, but here he steps in with a chance to win undisputed gold. As we've alluded to, hinted at a few times across this show, Aspinall is unsurprisingly a comfortable favorite. For exactly how big a favorite he is, the line is -400, Gane +300 coming back. I sort of said this to a certain extent when we were previewing the Volkov versus Almeida fight, but here, in the case of Gane, it's even more so. And again, statistics lie, and they lie good, but with Gane, it really is as simple as this. Gane is 10-2 in the UFC. In the 10 wins, he's not been taken down at all. In the 2 losses, he's been taken down, and more importantly, the takedowns are the immediate and proximate cause why he lost. He was more than holding his own against Francis Ngannou in the early going in that fight. All of a sudden, Ngannou turned into Curtis Blades, grounded Gane relatively easily, and rode that to the decision win. It was as simple as that. Ngannou beat Gane with wrestling. And then John Jones, I'll own up, I picked Gane in the upset. It was Jones's heavyweight debut, at least at the UFC, level, not counting the Parker Porter fight.
I did it too.
Yeah. I thought Gon was going to show Jones what it was like to fight a guy actually bigger than him, who's a really good athlete and a good distance striker. And instead, Jones folded him like a lawn chair. 2 takedowns in 2 minutes, and basically, guillotined him against the fence, and that thing was over. So that's it. You can make the argument that he should have lost to Alexander Volkov, but that's the result of kind of a different dynamic that I want to talk about. But basically, in terms of who has actually gotten his hand raised at the end, if you're trying to win a striking match with Ciryl Gane without taking him down, or at least without the credible threat of taking him down, it has been futile so far. The main thing that's changed is Ciryl Gane, across his first 5, 6, 7 fights in the UFC, was, including his first fight with Volkov, honestly, was the ultimate snake charmer. He turned every fight into a Ciryl Gane fight. Like his fighting slow paced, including against some good strikers, veteran strikers who knew that they needed to get some power on Gane's chin. And Gane, despite not being a huge power guy himself, just froze all these people. He froze Volkov. He embarrassed Derek Lewis, if we're being honest. It's not just that he knocked Lewis out, because Lewis has gotten knocked out before. It's that Lewis could barely lay a finger on Gane. He went from tentative to then when he opened up, Gane punished him bad. Junior Dos Santos. Yeah, Dos Santos was faded by then, but Dos Santos never looked as inert and tentative and just stumped as he did against Gane. Like, Dos Santos looked better as a fighter, just even getting annihilated by people like Cain Velasquez. Some of that mystique is gone, obviously. Like Tai Tuivasa, who is, I mean, as a striker, he is a hammer in search of a nail, had his moments against Gane. Volkov, again, arguably should have beaten Gane in their rematch. So the mystique is gone. I hate that his name rhymes with Gane. The mystique is not there anymore, but he is still one of the better technical strikers, one of the better outstrikers in the division. Just for a guy as big as he is, he's very smooth on his feet. He throws a good variety of strikes. If he were anyone other than Ciryl Gane, the volume he throws would not be enough. But again, he's been able to stymie a lot of his opponents into throwing even less volume. Yeah, he's still one of the very best heavyweights in the world, and he's still a terrible style matchup for all but about 5 guys in the world. But in much the same way that we talked about Umar Nurmagomedov versus Mario Bautista, Aspinall has shown that he is very capable of handling himself on the feet, but then he also has that safety valve that Gane is not going to be able to deal with. Aspinall opened a lot of people's eyes when he just clocked Sergey Pavlovich in like a minute. We thought this was going to be a striker versus grappler matchup, but between Aspinall just being that good and Pavlovich maybe being worried about the takedown, it was Aspinall that caught him clean early and knocked him out. But yeah, Aspinall is going to have, he might make it look easy like Jones did, or like Aspinall himself did against Pavlovich. Maybe Gane's going to be worried about the takedown and Aspinall just catches him with something up top. But I suspect that Aspinall's actually going to have to take Gane down. And once Gane is down, he doesn't do himself favors. Like when we've seen him on the ground before, he is very European this way, but he's the kind of guy that'll look for heel hooks instead of just getting the hell back up. Even like, man, why am I still talking about this? Like, yeah, Gane is one of the 3 best heavyweights in the world, and Aspinall is probably going to run through him like tissue paper. Because even if Aspinall makes a mistake, Gane's a hard hitter, but he's not Derek Lewis or Tai Tuivasa as just a one-shot guy that might flatten Aspinall if he makes one mistake. Like, even if Gane catches Aspinall a few times in the early going, Aspinall is going to get takedowns. From there, he is a terrifying grappler. Like, he's a grappler first. I mean, his dad's the jiu-jitsu coach at Team Kaobon. And Aspinall isn't the guy that wastes time. I think Aspinall wins this thing first round TKO, ground and pound probably. If he gets the sub instead, like he pounds him out and Gunn gives up his back or gives up an arm triangle, that doesn't shock me either. But I'm going to go with TKO first round.
Yeah. This fight, I guess, it's funny. I usually get more pumped up when we talk about fights as we go up the card and get excited. Somehow I'm like, man, I'm more excited for some of the prelim fights than I am for the main card. I mean, Aspinall, he's everything you want in a heavyweight champion. He's massive. He's 6'5". He's long and lanky. He's possibly one of the best athletes in the division. I've said it before. He moves like a middleweight despite being a heavyweight. He can flow out of both stances. He's got good footwork. He cuts angles well. He can work out of both stances. He's got fast hands, accurate. He throws straight shots right down the pike. He's good at beating his opponent at the point of contact. We saw that against Sergey Pavlovich. He hits super hard. He's got big power in both of his hands. Knock you out with his left or his right. He mixes his striking and takedowns together well, so he's well-rounded. We don't see that a lot at heavyweight, even for the champions. Got some really mean ground and pound. I mean, he matched Sergey Spivak with ground and pound. He quickly subbed Andrei Arlovski. He quickly subbed Alexander Volkov. Both fights with ease, and he has a killer instinct. When he gets an opportunity, he's going to finish you, and he's going to finish you quick. I mean, he's pretty much done it to everybody. I think he has. He hasn't got a decision in the UFC.
Nope.
Gun come. When it comes to,
Aspinall's never been the decision period.
Oh, there you go. So
in victory, yeah.
There you go.
Or actually, not even in the loss. Yeah, he's never been he's never heard the final horn. Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe he has a bad gas tank then, I guess. Try to find something. Gun, when it comes to heavyweights, he's still near the top of the list when it comes to athleticism. He moves well. He's got good footwork. He wants to work from distance. He likes to work from the outside. You mentioned he has this great ability to just slow the pace down with his footwork, kind of having a low output kickboxing match. That's the kind of fight he'd have. But to his credit, he was a lot more aggressive against Sergey Spivak in their fight. He likes to keep his opponent guessing by constantly switching stances. He's very relaxed on the feet. I'd say he's got some quick hands. He's accurate, nice jab. He likes to double it up. He'll follow with straight shots on the pike, but then he'll kind of like exit out and reset and then do it again and then reset. And if you cover up, he'll wrap punches around your guard, which I like, and he'll attack from combinations. He switches stance in mid combo, which is something I like. He targets the body, which I like. He has some power, but for a top heavyweight, he's not one of these one punch fight ending kind of guy. It's been a long time since we've seen him finish someone with like a single strike. Nice kicking game though. He throws a lot of teep kicks, some hard body kicks, some hard stepping knees. Suddenly he can wrestle, and he wrestles a lot suddenly. His top game isn't very good, but he has some good ground and pound. He's not a submission threat. Now, you keep hearing about his training, and I still don't trust his takedown defense, despite stories of him working with Olympic level wrestlers. His takedown defense was better against Sergey Spivak, but Alexander Volkov did take him down. So take it for what it's worth. And I keep hearing he's always training with this great guy. And he struggles to get off the bottom. We saw it against Francis Ngannou. I mean, John Jones absolutely smoked him on the ground. I think some of that just had to be the moment was too big for him too. You're fighting John Jones. It was a big card. He did show improved takedown defense against Sergey Spivak, but he also showed terrible fight IQ when he went for a heel hook against Francis Ngannou in a fight that he could have won and could have won the UFC title. It would have been 3 rounds to 2 for him. So as far as prediction, I said that I kind of lost a little bit of interest because I think the co-main event's a hard fight to pick, but I'm more like, I don't think it's going to be a good fight. And I hope I won't. I hope it's a freaking Joanna and Wei Li, but I doubt it. The main event, I'm not as excited because I'm all over Aspinall here. I think he's better than Gon, maybe everywhere, even in the striking. I think he can match Gon's speed. I think he hits harder. I know he's the better wrestler. I know he's the better grappler. I see Aspinall tagging Gon. He hasn't really declined. He's still the same guy we saw, what was it, 15, 16 months ago? If he's the same guy, I see him tagging him up. I see him dropping him early. And I expect him to follow up those big shots, land some big shots on the ground from on top. And I think Gon might give up his back or give up his neck. And I think Aspinall's going to lock on it. I'm going to say, you went with ground and pound. I'm going to say Aspinall wins by submission. I'm sure he gets a finish. I'm not sure he'll get a submission, but I'm so sure he gets a finish. I'm at an Aspinall by finish as my lock of the night. And I'll say this, I know, would you say Aspinall was what kind of favorite?
Minus 400.
Okay, minus 4, and I don't know what him by finish. I'm assuming his by finish is not that much change in the odds. So if you need more odds, take a 50-50 fight and throw it in there. Throw Mackenzie Dern in. I'll lock Mackenzie Dern and Aspinall by finish as my parlay, my lock of the night.
There you have it. The Sherdog Radio Network preview for UFC 321. Aspinall versus Gon. I've been Ben. He has been Keith. If this is your first time watching or listening to one of our previews, thank you. We hope you enjoyed it. We do our best to bring a mix of in-depth analysis and occasional asides that we think is pretty unique in this space. Please do like, subscribe. Neither of those things cost you a thing. They make our bosses happy. They allow us to keep bringing you this content free of charge. Drop us a comment. Keith and I both monitor the comment section. We'd love to hear your take on these fights. This is one of those rare cards where there's not a single unanimous upset pick. If you think we missed out on some value, let us know. Because if you're right and we're wrong, we will definitely give you your flowers on the recap. You just need to come and collect them. We are live on the Sherdog YouTube page right after the main event. Keith takes the captain's chair. We will talk about all 14 of these fights in reverse order, from this headliner all the way down to that strawweight opener, talking about what was good, what was bad, what was surprising, what was controversial. There's always something. Hopefully they can leave Dan Murgliata in New Jersey this time. And we'll talk about what's next for some of the notable winners as well as losers. This main card has more immediate title implications than maybe any other main card in the UFC this year. And we'll talk with you. The live chat is open that whole time. So we are taking your questions, your comments, and your hot takes in real time. We have a growing community of friends that hang out with us after the fights, and we would love for you to be part of it. Between now and then...
Real quick, just to remind everyone, it's going to be a much earlier start time. So the recap show, I just looked, it'd probably be about 5, maybe 5:30 Eastern Standard Time in PM. So make sure you adjust your schedule so you can be on the recap show at much earlier time than usual. So no excuses this time, and you'll have plenty of sleep.
And if you have subscribed to the Sherdog YouTube page, like I just asked you to, you'll get an alert. And you can come hang with us and tell us how wrong we were about some of these picks. Between now and then, thank you once again for listening. Enjoy the rest of your week, and by all means, enjoy these fights.